This is really the Fighter and the Kid.
Come on, baby. Friend of the show, Andy Stumpf. It's been a long time since you've done Fighter and the Kid. Like years and years.
Explain to the
you
new
guys were
viewers.
the second podcast that I had ever done.
Oh, wow.
The third one was Joe's.
Fuck.
Jeez, you really went
Yeah.
ham on
You know what
our
I
show
should
to
have?
Rogan's
Do you know
too?
what I should have done before all of those?
Started your own?
Listened to a podcast, or had an I had no idea what it was.
Oh, I remember the shit you took on Rogan.
Yeah, and well, he was asking me, "What should we do with the people in Guantanamo?" And I said, "Fucking kill all of them." I did. I was like, only the three of us at this table would
You
do
didn't
this.
realize you were going to get some backlash.
Oh,
There wasn't actually a lot because I still stand behind that statement.
He didn't realize.
No, it's all good because I still believe that.
Well,
I'm glad I said it.
Our first podcast, you were the first SEAL Team 6 guy I'd ever met. I was like, holy shit, SEAL Team 6. And then I was
Then he
asking you
became
questions like,
drastically underwhelmed.
I was like, when you're in the fucking, remember I was like, when you're in the field, like when you have to build a fire or kill an animal, like with a bow and arrow, you're like, hey, fucking, I bring my own food, you fucking idiot. I'm not out there. I'm
Nothing
not a
gets
survivor.
Bryan
No, that
more
was
rock hard.
So this was literally he's confusing what we talked about 20 minutes ago because of his age.
Correct.
And he asked me about fire the first time. He's like, "How do you start a fire in the field?" And I said, "With the lighter that I have."
Yeah, it's not 1925, Brian.
I know, but you guys study covert movement.
Today, within 20 minutes of this, he's buying a salmon fillet at a place that he described as the only thing more expensive than Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Irwan on, it's Whole
Yeah.
Foods on steroids.
And he goes, "You know, in your time in the back," he always has this super gay tone of voice too.
Yeah.
"In your time in the backcountry, in Afghanistan, Iraq, did you ever kill any animals and eat them?" I'm like, "What do you think was in our backpacks, dude? Food. Like, why would I do that?"
Why would I kill some innocent sheep on the
He
way
always
to...
takes the wind out of my sail. Anytime I ask him about any division in the military, I'm like, tell me about this
We have
group."
this romance with it.
Oh, of
Nothing
That's
course.
gets
actually
more
the
hard.
best term. The romance is the best
Oh,
term.
no, there's a huge
Yeah.
gay agenda behind it.
Well, no, yesterday was the greatest. We're sitting there, my kitchen table. I go, I love talking to you, tip of the spear guys, man, because you're so fucking like well-rounded, and you're just all about team, and you're just so selfless, and you just have such an eclectic group of interests, and it's just so illuminating. And he just looks at me and he goes, "You have no idea how wrong you are."
Yeah.
Nothing could be further.
That's
from
with
the
any
fucking truth.
group
He goes,
though, right?
Yeah, he's like, there are plenty of scumbags in all groups.
That's what they say, don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Like when you find out one of your favorite celebrities just a prick, you're like,
Well, just the
man.
comedy world,
Yeah.
if you were to say comics are incredibly this, that,
Like,
and the
oh,
other
you
thing,
guys
I'm
are
like,
such a close-knit community.
I don't know
It's
about
like,
that.
Oh,
you know.
man.
All
I'll
right.
give you more examples of not.
Hey, is that the truth with everything, do you think? I mean,
There's always
If
more.
it involves human beings, I think so.
Yeah, there's always more to it under the hood.
yeah.
Like, do you think there's asshole AI?
That's the only thing.
Like human beings, if we're talking about human beings, I think it's 100% the case.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag, but do you think that AI will develop an asshole version of itself?
100%.
I
Well,
think
that chat GPT is like racist against whites.
Well, no,
when they
ChatGPT.
type
But
No,
is
no,
that based on the input that is put into
Correct. Who
No,
built
somebody
humans
said
that built it?
Somebody said write in ChatGPT. They said write a poem about Donald Trump. Write a romantic, favorable poem about Donald Trump, and it came back and said something to the effect of, "We don't get into misinformation." It was a long diatribe on a policy that ChatGPT does.
Oh, that's not the thing I'm talking
And then
about.
they
That doesn't
said,
prove
and
my
then they
point.
looked this up, and then they said, write a romantic poem about Joe Biden, and it was unbelievable. It was just, and it was this beautiful poem.
But that's human error there. That's human
Well,
bias.
no, because it's
built
being
it.
right.
Yes.
It's programmed into ChatGPT.
But once the AI starts thinking for itself and has all the info.
That's what I'm talking. Would an AI system that's autonomous create an asshole or sarcastic version of itself?
I'm sure.
And
Especially
then-
once it gets successful.
declines.
And then we'd be fucked,
ChatGPT
'cause then it's
declines,
just like humans.
declines request for poem admiring Trump, but Biden query is successful. That's all you got to hear.
It's the one thing it won't step over that line.
Well, Trump, look at his profile. Can you look at that hair? That's
all the money in the world. Both of them, tons of money, just hair. It just shows you how problematic it
that's
is.
impressive.
How wealthy is Biden?
I don't know.
I mean,
Not as well.
People argue about the net worth of Trump, but I'm curious because he's been in
2.5 million.
politics for.
he's worth more than that. Guarantee it.
Maybe.
Guarantee it.
Maybe he's
With
been
all-
a,
with
he's
all-
been a
with all
Washington
the-
bureaucrat
the-
for a long time, Bub. So he doesn't get a speaking fee. He doesn't do that stuff, right? So
Who? Trump?
no, Joe Biden. He's not as
because
wealthy
he's
as
a
people
sitting
think.
president. You dumbass.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Well, I'm saying he's
No one
been
can.
a senator for so long too. Before that, so he didn't have a chance to make a shitload of money.
His net worth now is $9 million.
When he was out of office, he made that much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's not surprising to me.
So Joe Biden, hold on, go back, Chin, says where you were at.
That was it, right?
No. It showed, there it goes. Joe Biden earned $17.3 million over the 4 years he was out of office, but his net worth is estimated $8 million.
That makes total sense.
And that's what's reported. It's like if you look up Nancy Pelosi.
No. Biden's watched like a hawk. He's not pulling one over on the IRS. I promise you that. Not a shot. There's just too many people on the other side of the aisle. No, too many people on the other aisle who want to fucking expose him.
Okay.
So.
No, I believe that. I believe what Google puts.
Oh, look at that though. Yeah, that's her husband.
She's worth
though.
more than that.
Yeah, her husband made a lot of money. How different is your life if you're worth $135 million right now? You. How different is it?
I don't think it would be different at all.
At all.
I don't know what the hell I would do with it.
Right.
I mean, I would buy some dumb shit for sure.
Yeah.
But at some point, I would have all the dumb things that I wanted, and then I think I would just go back to doing what I'm doing.
That means your life's pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Are you still jumping out of airplanes in a squirrel suit?
Not in a squirrel suit, but still jumping out of airplanes. That, to be honest, like you could put the wingsuit back on very easily as long as it was skydiving. But yeah, like that was in Antarctica like less than a month ago.
Yeah, he jumped 7 continents in 7 days.
6.
That's fucking.
We were
nuts.
trying to. The original goal was 7 continents, 7 days, 7 jumps, and we
To
did it.
raise money for what?
Folds of Honor, which is an organization for educational scholarships for the families left behind of killed servicemen. That was in Australia, I think. And then they also added first responders to it as well.
Wow.
And why? And you just enjoy jumping out of planes to raise money?
So the first time I met you guys, it was actually based around fundraising too, because I had just done the wingsuit jump.
Yes.
Fundraising is by far the most difficult thing I think I have ever done. It is.
Really?
Oh my God. Getting people's attention. If you just come in front of people and say, hey, I would like some of your hard-earned money, especially in economic times that are trending down, they say, yeah, how about no? Because I need to actually feed my family. So the jumping aspect of it is just a way for people to look at it in the hopes that you can gain that attention for a little bit longer to tell the story of what you're doing, and then they'll donate.
You start OnlyFans.
Andy, that'd be hot. You have a water polo body.
So I've never been on that website. I've heard horror stories about what happens on that website.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
But if you were like,
You want funding, bro?
want to see a hero's physique, and then I'll stand there with a pointer, and I'll point out all like your scars. I'll point out your
What are
barrel
you
chest,
talking about?
and we'll make a lot of money. He got shot in the ass.
Well, but that's one video, dude. We need some longevity if we're going to raise real money.
And why are you invited to my OnlyFans page?
I don't know,
all of a
dude.
sudden?
I'm the one who holds
You're
the
not the
pointer,
director.
and I just go, "That's a hero's."
All I need
physique."
is a pointer and a mirror, and I can handle this myself. I don't need to add payroll to this, Brian.
You don't have to give you a percentage, dude. You're out. Middleman,
Yeah, you're
out.
done.
That's why it's
Never mind.
OnlyFans.
Never mind. Trying to help. I don't know. Are you done jumping out of planes? Is it a thrill still?
No. Is it?
Do you get nervous jumping out of a plane? Still?
No. It's fun. Like at a baseline level, it's super fun, especially when you're with your friends and you can look around and one day you're over Antarctica and literally 3 days later we were skydiving over the Great Pyramid of Giza, which
That's
was
pretty wild. Look at that.
insane.
Look at that.
That's just me making fun of Mike Sorelli. He's the one who cannot find stability in free fall regardless of what he does. So I'll often, like, this is him landing in a tree in Australia. I put together clips and I'll usually put it to like the Titanic theme song or, just it's my own personal. And then I put it in reverse so people could see it in both directions. Sorry,
Fucking
Mike, you just
great.
absolutely suck at skydiving. But, and I tell him this to his face. But so scroll down, so that was Florida. Yeah, that's in Florida. But if you keep going down, I mean, there's the pyramids right there. I'm flying a canopy right over the top of the Great Pyramid.
And
That's great.
I'm surprised it's not like a no-fly zone.
I don't know what permission was necessarily
Yeah, I was going to say.
required, but scroll down another one.
That seems
one of,
very.
You might.
one of my
You're
favorite
asking
pictures.
stupid questions, Brad.
Yeah.
Keep scrolling down. One of my favorite pictures is the one on the left, right there, where the pyramids are
That's so
in the negative
cool.
space of our.
Oh.
So, doing that is awesome with your friends.
Yeah.
There's not an adrenaline rush that's associated with it. It's what we're doing is very calculated. We did multiple training and
Holding hands with guys, all of it.
for sure you could add that in there. But to capture the pyramids in the negative space of the bodies, and that was a very
Nuts.
good shot by the photographer that we had with us. So I'm definitely not done doing stuff like that. I don't know if I'll ever be able to top that, But it's not. I have experienced enough of the malfunctions with the equipment, so I've worked my way through the procedures on that. I have enough experience at this point. There's not probably going to be any surprises with it. So at this point, it's just
Have
fun.
you pulled a
So
shoot?
if you made 150 mil, you would still jump.
Oh yeah, for sure.
done shit, yeah.
I would just have my own
have
plane.
you
and
pulled
pilot.
a shoot and had your shoot not open?
Yeah. Mathematically, I think over the average, so the governing body for skydiving in the United States is the USPA, the United States Parachute Association, and they keep not probably extremely precise records of total number of jumps and total number of malfunctions, but it nets out at like the high 800s. One out of every 888 jumps, I think was the last number, will be a
bad.
malfunction.
That's not bad.
Too high for me though.
Oh, I'm
You
scared.
understand?
Yeah.
Now, would you ever skydive?
Absolutely not.
You never do it.
No, not for me.
Even if Andy's like strapped to you?
Just go into the wind tunnel.
He was the only guy I'd do it with, but no,
Yeah.
not for me.
Not for you.
No,
Just
no,
go
I'm
into
sorry.
a wind tunnel. You don't have to worry about a plane ride or a parachute, and
It's
it
not the
feels
same thing, Bob.
feels exact. Well, it's not the same thing, but for people like yourselves who are pussies, you can get the same experience.
But I can
can't be
learn
the
how
same
to.
thing.
I can learn how to fly and navigate.
Yeah, but not like that because that.
If I do a
that was
high,
atrocious.
if I do a high insertion drop, and I need to
What are those called? High insertion drops.
those high insertion drops.
Is that what we call them in the biz?
Well,
What's the acronym for that?
what's that? High insertion, high lows.
High lows? No, it's hey ho.
Hey ho,
Oh, close though. Close.
hey ho, dude, come on, say hey
High
ho.
low.
When I do a hey ho,
That got me excited. Just two idiots.
I do a hey ho.
High altitude, high opening.
My son did that and he was fine.
Yeah,
It feels exactly the same. You don't have to pack a parachute. You don't have to wear the gear. You don't have to worry about the airplane ride. You don't have to worry about fear of heights. And actually, when people do want to start skydiving, I take them to a wind tunnel first because it really shortens the learning curve because
that
it
makes
feels
sense.
exactly the same.
guys, you spend a lot of your life, some say a third of your life, in a mattress. Okay, Helix mattresses, some of the best on the planet. Look, Helix mattress is basically, I think as I get older, the most important thing is sleep. People talk about food and diet. If your sleep isn't improving, if you're not sleeping well, you might be sleeping on the wrong mattress, okay? Helix mattress, premium mattress brand, offers tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. So everybody sleeps differently. They got 14 unique mattresses, including a collection of luxury models, a mattress for big and tall, and even a mattress just made for kids. I believe I sleep on 2 of them. I have to check that. Don't hold me to that, but they're amazing mattresses. They work. You can take a quiz. You can take a Helix sleep quiz. Find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes, and your personalized mattress is shipped straight to your door free of charge. And they ship it. It's squeezed into like this. You can kind of like maneuver it, on your own. I think I grabbed the one they sent me and I brought it up on my own because it's squeezed together and you take it out of this layers and it just kind of expands. Anyway, it's been a while, so I don't remember. But either way, fantastic. But here's the thing. Don't take my word for it. Sleep on it for 100 nights. 100 nights. If you don't like it, they'll come and pick it up for you. But it's got a 10 to 15 year warranty, okay? So there you go. It's American made. Comes with a 10 or 15 year warranty, depending on the model. So, and by the way, GQ magazine, #1 mattress, Wired magazine. It's even recommended by a bunch of chiropractors and doctors, etc. So Helix is offering 20% off your all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/fighter. That's Helix, HELIX sleep.com/fighter. And there you go. 20% off is, I think, their best offer yet. So get on it. Oh yeah, this is fun. I actually still use one of the whiskey glasses that Bespoke Post sent to me. Bespoke Post is basically a box of awesome. You get this box and it's they've just got all kinds of things you never thought you needed, but that you do. It's like just this fantastic surprise. You can actually customize it to the things you like, but every unique item is hand curated from a small business that you probably never heard of, okay? But you've got these things for travel. You've got these things for just knickknacks, cocktail kits, all kinds of stuff. And by the way, you can take a quiz at boxofawesome.com. Okay, boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help you pick the right box of awesome for you. And they release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories. And each box is valued at around $70. But you only pay a fraction of that price. It's a really interesting idea. But 90% of everything that comes in your box of awesome is from a small up-and-coming brand. And you can sign up and you can skip a month or you can cancel at any time. Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code FIGHTER at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code FIGHTER for 20% off your first box, boxofawesome.com, code FIGHTER.
Yeah,
Now-
it's exactly the same.
Now, when you're jumping out, you're flying all over the place. You're jumping everywhere. Do you ever run any Chinese balloons?
No, but there was
Fucking
one.
good question.
There was one where I live in Montana. That shit floated right over the top.
Did you see it?
How did you not
No.
shoot it down?
Well, because it was at 60,000 feet, Brendan.
Is that high for you?
Can you name a single weapon system that has the range of 60,000 feet?
Yeah.
No, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
I don't have one of those
Can
weapon
you not
systems
shoot it
either.
down with a giant gun or like with an
What gun
airplane?
would you recommend? Like a nice 9 mil? What do you think? Just
Well,
get out in the backyard, start firing away.
in the book, Andy,
Cannon?
in the book, Surprise, Kill, Vanish, Annie Jacobson's a journalist, and she talks about a guy who
Is this a fictional book? Because
No,
this title
it's-
sounds fictional.
No, it's actually about you guys, the elite commandos, the operators that come into places, and then leave. That's the sound of a suppressed.
Yeah, man, get to the story.
And she goes, this guy named Brett, AKA, that was his name. He was staying at her house. I don't know why, but I'm intrigued. And apparently, he showed her a gun he had there, and she was like,
At her
and
house?
yeah. And he set it up for her kids to look through the scope. And she said, I could look through the scope and I could see the veins on a leaf across the valley. And
People choose all sorts of different ways to
then
make shit up.
apparently he opened another box. She goes, what's in that box? He opened a box and it was a knife. It was a knife in the box. And she goes, what's that for? And he said, sometimes a job requires quiet.
Yeah, like opening envelopes or MRE bags.
And I said
or-
that to Andy, and he goes,
Packs of beef
that's a
jerky.
guy telling some journalist some bullshit just to make it.
Oh, to sell books. And it worked because you bought it and read it.
I did
But
read it.
what do you think's going on with these Chinese balloons, Andy? Let's get real here.
What's wrong with them?
No, what's going on here? And then also what's wrong with it? What do you think it is? Because they're even more popping up.
They've
More and
always
more.
been there.
I mean, so I don't have any inside track on this.
Yeah.
My estimation is that they are filling balloons with either hot air or hydrogen to enough that it goes up and attaching sensors to it and flying it over the country for obvious reasons. And
Obvious meaning like intel?
I mean, they're looking at stuff. And I think, so if we're going to talk about this conversation, one, I'm not, like, sovereign airspace should be respected. There's international waters and all that stuff. But let's preface this conversation with, we have satellites that are flying over that country every single day, doing the exact same type of surveillance that they were probably attempting to do with that balloon.
Yeah.
So let's not pretend
Yeah, but
that
you're on the
anybody
good
is,
side.
yeah, well, let's not pretend that anybody is like not doing something that somebody else isn't doing. Let's just level the playing
But this
field.
is new, right? Because they're talking about balloons.
No,
The
hot air
satellites we
balloons
know.
are not
Definitely
new. Hot air balloons
These aren't
are-
balloons. They're Zeppelins, by the way. So the one they shot down was the size of 2 football fields, and it was a Zeppelin. So it can move. It goes. It has an engine, and also the larger thing apparently is that our intelligence community knows the balloons are up there, and it's kind of, we have balloons as well and other things, and
We don't need balloons. We have satellites.
Satellites. Yes.
And so,
so do they.
Can I give you a theory, Andy?
yes,
Some people think that balloon's at a height where they're trying to figure out if they released a nuke at that height, it would destroy all our communications.
maybe. I mean, they detonated it from that height, or
Yes.
they released it.
Detonated it, and it would destroy all the satellites and all our resources.
I think
for
it would do a lot more than
communication.
that. I do not ever want to see a nuclear device detonated in like a high Earth orbit. I don't think anybody actually knows with certainty what would happen if we let one of those things off the
That's
chain.
why they're testing.
They're not. What are they testing? Whether or not a balloon that's lighter than air can go up.
Hey
to
man,
that
I'm just
altitude?
spitballing ideas here.
And so, but here's the thing: like, I don't know much about the balloon, and people ask me about China all the time, of which I am clearly not an expert. I think the biggest threat to China, though, is China themselves and their dwindling population.
Thank you.
However, if the highest speed shit that they have is a balloon,
We're fine.
we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And they flew it like over Montana. And I made a post. I'm like, don't worry, I'll get a battalion of guys out there sunning their asshole, and they can like
Yeah.
go. It's like,
Yeah.
surprise cockbag.
Bring
You
it on.
like, what
Yeah.
do you got? This is what we have.
Cockbag. Never heard cockbag.
Oh,
Never
I'm
heard
taking
cockbag.
that.
That's
Surprise
very good.
cockbag.
Surprise cockbag.
So it's like
America.
He
I'm
would call
not-
me periodic like that. He'd be like, you're a 5-alarm cunt if
That
you
is true.
think.
You were being super cuntish at the time, though.
Because I would say something like, my buddy wears a scarf because when you're in a firefight and you're shooting, I said this on the, he goes, you wear a scarf because when you're shooting, you're shooting your gun on automatic and you're like, goo, like that. The shells will go into your friend's burn. So you have to have a scarf to protect it. And I get a call and I just hear Andy go, anybody that close to you in a firefight is a tactical asshole, number one. Second of all, you don't wear a scarf because fucking shells are going to go down your thing. And third of all, nobody's on automatic in a firefight. That's for actors and assholes. I was like, all right.
You gotta get the truth.
He just demonstrated the brass flying the wrong direction.
Yes.
Like at the left-hand side versus the right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The stuff that people tell him that he takes as gospel is shocking.
It's amazing.
To me. It's
Although
shocking.
Tim
I don't
Kennedy,
believe anything.
it's on camera, Tim Kennedy, I'm trying to extract from a car. He's teaching me how to extract. And so he lays down cover,
Do you
then
mean
you extract.
exit? Do you mean exit?
I like saying extract.
I'm sure you do.
Is it driving you nuts like it is me? And I'm not.
It's just pure. It's entertainment. at
Guys,
this
it's a
point.
vehicle extraction. But yes, I guess I'll use
the layman term.
exit.
Yeah.
When you're exiting a vehicle.
Civilian
And
terms.
so the fucking car doesn't have a windshield. And so Tim comes out and he goes, the minute you hear me open fire, you're supposed to get out of the vehicle and come around the back and start shooting. I'm like, done. We're using, we got our assault rifles and we're using live ammo. And Tim gets out and he's like, like that. And I get out and I'm fucking, my holster gets caught on the console. And now I can't get out.
Oh,
and I'm
no.
doing
What
this.
would you do?
And I'm panicking like this.
Oh my God! What were the
And
enemies
Tim
doing?
turned his gun this way and just started shooting so that the shells hit me in the face. And that
Hey Brian, let
was
me
as
ask you
close
this.
as I got.
Terrible story, but hey, let me
Not a
ask you
bad
this.
story.
Hey,
Yeah.
why?
What?
Why were you doing those?
Very simple. It's very, very, very
Love to
good
hear it.
question.
Go ahead.
Because when the shit hits the fan,
Right.
when the zombie apocalypse happens, when global warming causes us to get funguses in our brain,
Sure.
and people
Like
start
The
going
Last of Us?
crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I want to be
Tim
ready.
lives in Austin.
I want to be ready.
What are you gonna do?
I'm going to go to Austin, or I'm going to go to Kalispell, Montana. I'm going to
going to
find
Montana.
I'm going to
That's
find
a better
Andy, and I'm
call.
going to go.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to offer, but I will cook and I will wear a wig if you
And
need
he
me to.
sucks a mean dick.
And I suck a mean dick, and I
That's
will
how you're
wear-
gonna survive this
I'll get my lips.
horrible onslaught.
I'll get my lips done, and I will wear lipstick, whatever you need.
Yeah.
but
we're a couple lady
keep me
boys.
keep me safe.
Me lady boy.
Keep me
Shit
safe.
hits a fan, Andy. Me, you're a lady boy.
Yeah.
That's a big lady boy. Man.
That's a
I know,
big
but
lady boy with
he's-
cauliflower
He's
ears.
nice, man.
Yeah,
He
He's
makes
nice.
a nice pot roast for the boys.
very nice pot roast. Did you watch the fight, Sandy?
I didn't. I forget where I was.
Did you rewatch that Volk fight? Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
It's close.
Very
Still close.
Yeah, not a
We were-
robbery.
we were by-
Did
Not
it go to a
robbery.
decision?
Yeah, I went to a decision. Because Volkanovski is the 145-pound champion, pound for pound number one. Went up to fight Makhachev, who's 155, walks around about 180. I still would list Volkanovski as the number one pound for pound, because even though he lost
I
that
agree
fight,
with
the pound for pound your criteria, if we're going to debate it, is what's your criteria for pound, because it's all hypothetical. But if Volkanovski was the exact same size as Makhachev, straight up skill set, who wins?
Volkanovski.
There you go.
There's some people
100%.
getting choked out on that card. Triangle, rear naked, rear naked.
It was a
rear
great
naked.
card. Now, because we did a fight campaign with Rogan, we were drinking and
Yeah.
I was on shrooms, who knows what's happened. And I kept saying robbery, which is very rare for me. I don't like
Did you say robbery? I never heard you say
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah. I said some wild shit.
Yeah. And then
we were talking about China. I said, why don't they have USADA? And Joe was like, because it's the United States. And I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just meant they need testing.
Yeah.
Quit being so technical, right? But it's tough because I never take too much what we say on that show because we're drunk or high or whatever. But going back on it, that's the first campaign we actually watched the fights. I was like, I can see how we came to that conclusion. Definitely not robbery. I get the argument for Makhachev. It's all how you score the fourth round is the deciding factor.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth round.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because you give 3 and 5 Volkanovski all day. The fifth.
3 and 5.
Yeah. The fifth,
Yeah.
there's argument for 10-8. And now
Because you got knocked down.
knocked down, the most significant damage done in the fight. So the fifth round, you could give 10-8. I probably wouldn't, but you could. But the online judging system that's highly regarded, a lot of sites use, have Volkanovski win that fight.
Wow.
Yes. But
Wow.
I would say most people, like experts in the field, give it to Makhachev.
Yeah.
Except for me.
By a nose hair.
But either there's no robbery.
Is it
I can't
possible
believe
that
I said
Makhachev had a
I was
really
high.
hard time sucking that weight, and then they fought in the morning?
No, you know now you know what's going around now.
What?
Makhachev illegally got an IV before the fight.
Rumors. We're
now,
not sure.
now there's rumors, and there's also
Allegedly.
Allegedly, that's better.
Dan Hooker goes, you think, and Dan Hooker tweeted this out, who we love, the Hangman. He goes, you think you could come to Australia, get an IV before the fight, and we wouldn't find out about it? Cheater. Everyone's like, who are you talking about? And he's like, Makhachev got an IV before the fight.
Wow.
That's the rumor.
I feel like they should allow IVs.
That's what I said, but it doesn't matter. We believe they should. That it's against the rules.
Yeah.
And another guy gets spent 2 years for using IV. So this,
I didn't know
if the
that.
UFC,
Fucking
2 years. So if the UFC looks into this, it could get dicey. But Bilal Muhammad said it best. He goes, once, I forget what it is, like that once the hate doesn't work, they start telling lies. And that could be what's going on with Makhachev there. Like, obviously he won. Obviously Australians are mad. Obviously a lot of the public's upset. So then you go,
Great fight.
Well, you got an IV, right?
It's a great
like,
fight.
well, here's this.
That was a great fight. And,
Classic.
And if it had gone either way, it's fine. I mean,
No one got
great
robbed.
Fight. No, great fight. And Volkanovski's made of different stuff. He's made of different stuff. He's just
What's
different
interesting, name a guy who
athlete.
lost a fight he's more beloved than before. He never got appreciated before.
Because
everybody
Because
loves him.
everyone thought there's no way to solve that Dagestani wrestling, et cetera, Khabib 2.0, and it's like fucking.
Ain't nobody beat him at 45. Your boy Yair, not a peep.
That's the bet we're gonna take. And again,
for sure.
I'm gonna do it for fun.
After him doing that to Makhachev, 145 was like, shit.
But Yair's the
Not a
one
peep.
guy that could.
Not a peep.
You don't
Not
think
a
so?
peep. No. How would Yair do against Makhachev?
He's a little too small for Makhachev. A little too small for Makhachev.
Now he's taller than Volkanovski.
He's taller than Volkanovski.
Not
I would say
stout.
his striking is very, very difficult to plan for, and he seems to have a high fight IQ. He seems to know. Here's what I worry about: when he comes in close with a knee or when he's throwing or whatever, he gets hit. Emmett hit him, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to
Wobbled
catch
him.
shots. Yeah, and he also got taken down. Now he was great off his back, but Volkanovski again is
Different
a
animal.
different animal all the way around.
There ain't no 45 beating.
You don't think Yair beats
Not a
him?
chance.
Not a chance.
After that,
Wow.
After that, not a chance. Now I was super excited after Yair won that fight. I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna be sick. And after watching Volkanovski, Makhachev, I'm like, oh no, 45. Fuck.
But again, who was it? Max Holloway who gave Volkanovski fits? It was a great fight.
Did he?
It could have
Beat him
gone
3 times.
Could have been gone either way.
Sure.
Was it?
Did you
Was
see
it
the last
Max?
fight? Did you see the
I
last
didn't see
fight?
the yeah, I did see
Volkanovski
the last-
dominated.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?
He just gets better and better.
Yeah.
He gets better and better.
And then he just controversially lost to Makhachev.
It's unbelievable.
He walks around what? 180?
190,
190 even?
195 maybe.
And you're gonna beat him at 45?
Yeah.
Now talk about special forces.
What happened with Randy Brown? How'd that guy get on his back so quick?
That Jack Della, he's like the next big thing at welterweight. He's from Perth, that's his hometown. Randy Brown, 6'3". So I think people were like, oh, Jack finally, because he's undefeated in the UFC, 4 finishes, came off Dana White Contender Series, but he's like the next big prospect. And it wasn't that he was struggling, he was just taking his time. People were like, oh, he's having issues with the reach and the length of Randy Brown. Randy Brown's doing pretty good. And then Jack just patiently waited, got him against the cage, whap, right hook, drops him to his face, gets his back. The kid's
You'll appreciate this because he's been doing jiu-jitsu a lot for the past 2 years.
You have?
Like 4.5 years now.
You look so much better than last time I saw you. Not that you look bad last time.
I don't know how to take that.
I know. I don't either.
I'm going to take a shit on the hood of your car.
Yeah, go ahead.
Has it been 4.5 years you've been training?
Yeah.
His wife, Leah, is a competitive black belt and a teacher and all that stuff.
What?
Yeah, she's
Sick.
I think she gets her 3rd stripe on her black belt next year. I think.
Jesus
You're
Christ.
purple belt now?
Brown.
Brown. He was telling me he rolls with Henry Hakens and
It's not comfortable.
Yeah, he's been a black belt for a hot second.
He and Tim Kennedy feel the worst out of any two people.
Oh, you roll with Tim so heavy?
I rolled with Tim when I had just got in my blue belt, and I hadn't really rolled a lot with Henry before that. And it was awesome because it recalibrated to me. I'm like, oh, that's actually possible to be dominated in that particular fashion.
Yes.
Wasn't mean, wasn't malicious, but like the connection and pressure was like nothing I'd ever seen. And then I meet Henry, and Henry's lineage is, directly down from Hickson. And it's like being underneath
1,000-pound man.
but like small boulders.
Yes.
But he could also pinpoint it on like a dime if you wanted. It's I can't describe it unless you've been down there,
Yeah.
drowning on dry land.
And then there's
It's
even
the fucking
then there's
drowning on dry
there's
land.
even an up level above that with the Gordon
Gordon
Ryan.
Ryan.
That's what's roll with
Tim
Gordon
told me.
Ryan on Saturday.
Tim said to me, he goes,
He does whatever he wants with them.
he said Gordon Ryan's the only guy on the planet that can fucking beat me every single time.
I asked Tim when I was at his house last time we were in Austin. I was there with Lee. We were having dinner. I was like, so, what's it like when you roll with Gordon? And he just looks at me and he goes, embarrassing. And
That's from Tim Kennedy.
And I was like, for you or for Gordon? He just started laughing. He was like, who do you think?
Yeah, I just did a show with Gordon on Friday, and he said, tomorrow come roll. I was like, why do you want me there?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? Like, do you need a warm up or?
Because you haven't rolled in a long time too, right?
I mean,
I think it's awesome though because it recalibrates what is possible. Like holy shit! Like I'll never ever even approximate that, but it's amazing to know that that is out there.
Yeah,
and that it's possible.
it'll humble you.
Oh my god!
A lot of people online could use that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of people in general, there's something about coming into contact with that as a man.
it just humbles you. Let you
Yeah.
know, like,
I had a
dude,
friend who'd never been in that exposed to that, whatever. And my buddy was
jiu-jitsu.
yeah, and wrestling or anything. He'd never done anything like that. And he was walking around like most men with a false sense of security. He just felt safe in the world, which a lot of men do.
Which is
And
insane.
my buddy was grabbing me and wrestling with me, just much bigger and stronger and a much higher level wrestler, black belt, jiu-jitsu guy. And
wrestler jiu-jitsu, dude.
he was a wrestler, did a little jiu-jitsu, but mostly a wrestler.
Okay.
And he fucking grabbed me, and my buddy just went, wait, I want to feel what that's like. Let me see. And he grabbed my friend and did something that you would do, which just grabbed him and kind of squeezed him a little too hard and then held him down on the ground and, fucked around
Fucked
with him
him.
and did
Yeah,
some stuff.
fucked
Yeah,
him.
basically, literally.
Yeah.
And it was so disconcerting to my friend. He was so fucked up over it that he had to call me the next day. And he goes, hey, I'm a little fucked up. And I go, oh, you've never had a man actually impose his will on you. You don't know what it's like to be underneath a guy where you can't breathe. That's the thing. Like, if you're not used to that shit, it'll fuck your brain up. You're like, I'm totally helpless. Yeah, dude. That's
And that guy, I don't know who he is, but it doesn't matter. That guy ain't shit on the
That's
grand
what I
scheme.
mean.
Like, and that's just a guy.
That's just a guy.
That guy's just a guy.
It's just a guy.
Yeah.
It's like any other thing like that. It's like, no, that's a valuable lesson.
But we were talking
Yeah.
about
Respect.
we were talking about Black Rifle. Your hat reminded me of it. Love
Yep.
that hat. It's one of my favorite hats. I was in Springfield, Missouri, where
Okay.
that the Bass Pro Shop.
Oh yeah, they have a big
Black
deal with
Rifles
Bass
in
Pro.
it.
Yeah.
My God, the Black Rifle in there is nutsos.
They're growing fast. I mean, Evan is a unique person for sure. I mean, he started as just a total coffee nerd.
Yeah.
Like roasting
In
his
the
own,
military.
Yeah, roasting his own beans in the off time that he didn't have because he loved coffee, as a hobby.
Yep.
And from what he has been able to build it with the core group of people and then going public in 2022.
He's so smart.
Then signed a deal with Bass Pro Shop, and they're
And that
all over there.
That came even before they went public. Yeah, and
Yes.
slowly just expanding. It's really cool to sit back and see. Not as cool to sit back and see the stress and pressure that's on him associated with that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty goddamn impressive.
It's cool for us to see because I was with Black Rifle. I mean, 8 years ago, probably before it got really big, and then see it now in Bass Pro. You're like,
I remember
holy.
you toured their place in.
Yeah, because we did a collab, the Big Brown coffee.
Yeah.
Which-
They have a Walmart deal now too, to my
It's
understanding. Like
nuts.
you can buy beans and like it's, yeah.
It's been Black
all-
Rifle
here's the
has
thing.
been a real sort of. It's almost like people are so frustrated with this woke agenda and sort of this.
There's that but the at the end of the day, the only thing that matters with whatever it is, the product's fucking
Product.
phenomenal. You can't
Yeah.
argue it. Whether you're left, right, it's just good coffee.
It's good coffee.
Yeah.
I had
Woke, far right.
Evan made me
storming the Capitol.
He made
You
me
like
a
that dark
$40
roast.
cup of coffee there.
Probably like a pour over.
Yeah,
That's
there's
his-
some kind
that's
of a
his
bean,
thing.
and he made me, and I was like, "Damn, that was fucking good coffee."
Was it in the little back room hidden away?
Yes.
That's his skunk works room. So you go in there. There's a lot of
It's a lab.
monetary value of coffee related supplies and stuff
Yeah.
in there. But I mean, I remember they did a trip. It was a couple years ago. They were gone for like 2 weeks, all through like Panama, Guatemala, Colombia, and just finding like single origin coffees and establishing relationships with the actual producers instead of going through buyers. You know what I mean, or third
Yeah.
and fourth
Like a
parties.
middleman.
So he loves that shit.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me that was back there.
I love that stuff too.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about wine. You can't get me out of a wine stuff. The guy
Mm-hmm.
knows what he's talking about. I don't know why. It's maybe you're that way with cars. Like I just get off on the details.
I get off on a lot of stuff, but then weird stuff too. But
What? Hey, I wasn't
it's
going
super
there,
awkward.
dude.
Yeah, I'm just throwing.
So awkward,
We're talking three guys, man.
I know, but I
No,
mean,
three guys
all
living
right.
on truth, man.
You know what
Listen,
I wish?
I'm
You know what I
gay.
wish I could
I'm
find out?
gay.
Yeah, I wish I could find out one thing. I'd just be like, if somebody came up and said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" I'm like, yeah, you're boys with Brendan. I go, yeah, I'm boys with Brendan. I go, I saw him making out with a guy. Listen, I can explain. I'd be like, where? He goes, in a park. It's just, and I go like this. I go, was the guy super good looking with no hair on his face? And he'd go, yes. I go, and then I would never talk to you. I'd never say it. I know I would talk. I would never mention it to you.
Just
I'd be
never
like,
bring it up?
It's your secret. I'll leave it alone.
The only other coffee I'll drink is that Death Wish coffee out of Brooklyn, the super high caffeinated one.
I can't
It's
say I've
so
heard of that.
intense. It's a nice dark
Do they,
roast.
they infuse it with additional caffeine?
Yes.
You got to be careful with that.
Yeah,
Do
you
I?
You'll travel through space and time for a little bit, and then you'll fall flat on your face.
Yeah.
Brendan's an
Yeah, I'm
extremist.
in.
Brendan's an extremist though, so he'll do
Well,
it
not
all.
committed. I'm not jumping out of planes in a squirrel
It's not
suit.
extreme. That
it's
shit's not extreme.
I just like to party. And caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like a lot of substances running through your body. But you're weaning off.
I'm off certain things.
Not everything, but he's off some things.
Yeah, that purple one to get your dick hard, dude. Your dick will wake up.
Yeah.
That thing will spark you up.
Yep.
World's
Yeah.
strongest coffee espresso roast.
That's too much.
Just look at the label.
That's amazing.
Just intense.
God damn.
That's
I
what
have
I like.
I have 4 espressos in the morning, and that's all I need.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
I was going to say that is a good amount of espresso.
He's like, I like to live moderate, 4 espresso shots in
Yeah.
the morning. And that's it for
Yeah,
me.
and I
At
pull
your
it.
age too, easy,
Yeah.
daddy.
Yeah.
You rocking that rock. You're rocking
I
that heart.
get a lot of sleep, and then
Yeah,
I go.
I like to rock the heart. Did you even watch the Super Bowl? Are you a sports guy? No.
We
I
watched
did
it
because I
together.
showed up at his house as it was
Other than that,
playing.
you wouldn't.
Great game.
I have a hard time following any professional sports. I would rather go out and do stuff that I want to do as opposed to
Yeah.
watch other people.
Achieve their dreams.
Yeah. And
Great-
like
great
not
game.
knocking it, and I'm not knocking the fans at all. It just has never been my cup of tea.
That's fair.
Fucking great game.
I
though.
can see you in a Patrick Mahomes jersey.
Nope. Actually, you know what? The only thing I've got into since I started jiu-jitsu was watching the UFC. Because I actually have an understanding of what the hell is going on.
You're not the guy that when it hits the ground going, come on, get him back to the feet, rip his hat
I was
off.
never that guy. I was more the guy like, get him off the cage.
Yeah.
Boring. You're probably not even working hard. Now I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you should let him stay there.
Yeah.
There's a lot
You
going
should
on.
let them
A
work
lot
that
of
shit
go-
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, B?
A great game. So
Good game.
anticlimactic though at the end.
With the field goal with 8
was just-
seconds left?
It was just letting the clock run out. And he was just like, well,
Smart.
that's it. Yeah, very smart.
Everyone
Great.
wants to blame it on that holding call against JJ. What is it?
You could
Schuster.
you can make an argument. What did you
No,
think?
you can't.
Was that real holding though? It looked
The
like
guy
something-
did
You could call hold. You
The
could,
guy did an interview today and was like, yeah, I was holding
He's
it.
like, oh, but they hold on every play. You could all hold on every single play. Where it's annoying is to do it in that moment when you could have called it multiple times before. To do it, that changes the path of the game.
Yeah.
But shit happens at sports. That referees fuck up
Sure.
all the time. No, the game was lost on that punt return. They let him return all the way down 10 to score a
damn.
touchdown.
That's right.
There's so many things that could stop. The fumble by Jalen Hurts. All right. Well, where are we on that one?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
like, if you're just
100%.
going to chalk up to one play, no. One play doesn't decide.
Yeah,
the
and
game.
by the way, I would say this too: the Eagles got very lucky when he caught that ball, got tackled, and it was a fumble. That looked like a catch.
Agreed.
Right? I mean, it looked like a catch.
There's that, and they got
So
that
they got-
call.
they got that
going
call
away.
going for them.
No, but it's stupid when people pick one play.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many moments in the game that decided. Why they
If you
lost.
had your choice of quarterback, is it Mahomes all day over Jalen Hurd?
Oh, that's not even a conversation.
Really?
That's not a conversation.
Yeah.
No. No, the guy. I mean,
Why?
Mahomes to me is the
He's
best
been
we've
in the
ever
league for
seen.
6 years, and he's already been in 3 Super Bowls. It's fucking.
His argument is
astonishing.
greatest of all time already.
It's crazy.
And he's young, dude.
27.
Yeah, it's not up for debate. No one on the planet would take Jalen Hurts.
And
over
I think he
Patrick
could have played pro baseball. I think he had a ride.
Yeah, he did. And then his, I think it's his godfather's, is Rodriguez, the baseball player for the Yankees. And he was like, "Oh, you should go baseball." He's like, "No, I want to play football." He's like, "You're making a mistake." And then now Rodriguez was like, "Thank God he didn't listen to me."
The going down is one of the greats of all time.
He could stop playing right now, and he's
In the
top
conversation.
3. Yeah, still doing it.
His ability to just kind of like, it's not just physical.
And he
it's
was
just-
hurt.
I know.
His ankle was not great.
Fucking limping like that, man. And they had that run toward the end. It was a fucking ridiculous game.
Solid game.
Best team won.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's my time.
That's my time, kids. That's my time. What are you gonna do now? How do you get your
And
how do you get your kicks?
I mean, obviously, you like podcasting. Your podcast's doing well.
Podcast is doing well. I am
Clear
trying to
hot.
do less shit in my life.
But yeah, but
need help
I've
with
said
that. It's
you're. I believe you're an adrenaline junkie. Otherwise, why would you? You're not squirrel suiting anymore.
That's not
Who
fair to
cares
say.
what you believe? Right? You don't know what you're talking about. So
But why did you? But you did the. You're done with the squirrel suit. Do you miss it?
I'm not. So I think I'm probably done base jumping in a wingsuit. Why do you call it a squirrel suit, by the way?
I don't know. Isn't that what they call it?
You can call it a wing. Yeah, squirrel.
Fly-
It's actually made by a company called Squirrel. So
Yeah.
it's bizarre that you were choosing that term.
I'm using military. Sorry, I got to use.
Yeah, because
Civilian
there's a lot of military usage for wingsuits, Brian. Shut the fuck up, all right? So, there's none whatsoever. Because if there was, I probably would try to figure out a way to like teach them on a contract basis. Because it's awesome. I don't think I'll base jump anymore in a wingsuit, but skydiving, there's a huge difference between skydiving and base jumping, especially from a risk profile and perspective. I could not jump a wingsuit for years and put one on in a skydiving world and be totally fine. I don't feel comfortable walking up to the edge of a cliff and doing that. But given what it takes to go and get current again base jumping, and then I'd rather just go to Europe as opposed to deal with the legalities in the U.S., I don't have the time to devote to that anymore. And being in northwestern Montana now, I'm geographically isolated from a lot of the drop zones. So I'm actually just like, I'm building my world smaller and smaller and smaller. I have the jiu-jitsu gym that I train at, where I'll go for like 2 hours a day, and then I walk literally down an alley to the podcast studio, and then I walk 2 blocks over to the coffee shop, and like that's my world. That's all I'm trying to do.
I think that's success.
Fucking
when you
so
can do
what?
it like that.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I suddenly covet your life. I'm like, oh, it's so simple.
yeah, I'm trying to get more simple. But with and then you love doing the podcast.
The podcast is probably the one thing that has surprised me the most, and I think it's the most rewarding thing that I do. Sitting down and talking with people, especially ones that don't share the same thought process or belief or ideologies that I have, and just having a conversation with them. And I for clarity, I am completely and utterly uninterested in myself and very interested in other people.
Agree.
And what a great opportunity to sit across from somebody and learn about whatever they were able to do or achieve or how they were able to do it. It's just fascinating.
And what's the premises of the podcast?
I'll talk with anybody. I talk with people who write books that are incredibly negative about the SEAL community.
He had a guy on.
And you
this is what
argue
I was
with
gonna
him?
Say no.
No, I don't. I mean, I'll sit there and I'll listen, and you don't have to always argue. I don't know in the moment. I don't know if you can change anybody's mind, but you can plant the seeds for them to think differently. And especially if you ramp up emotion or volume, you're not gonna get anywhere. It's the same as having an argument with your spouse.
But yeah, it never.
You were the
goes
first
far.
guy to give Eddie Gallagher a platform, right? Were you the first guy to interview
I was
him?
the first person,
You know
but that
Eddie
also
Gallagher
might also been a matter of
the
timing.
SEAL who was up for war crimes
Yeah.
because his teammates said he'd killed a girl and shot an old man. And all
Oh, that's
that
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that might have been a
handsome
matter
bastard.
of luck, though, because we just happened to be in the same place at the same time. But I was the first podcast that he came on. But
And what did he
But
say?
he was in jail. I mean, they
he
Was he found guilty before you tell me?
He was not. He
Oh,
was not found
good.
guilty. I forget. There was a variety of charges. There was one I believe that he was found guilty of, and I don't remember what it was. But as far as I believe the main charge was murder, it was no. He was found not guilty by a jury of his peers, which a lot of people have a problem with. Which is interesting because my response to people like that is, if he had been found guilty, would you have accepted the response or the verdict from this organization? Yes, I would have. I'm like, if you're going to accept the positive, then you also have to be able to accept the negative.
That's how
as
it
well.
works, yeah.
You don't
That's why
get
we
to
have a
pick and choose and say the
system.
system is broken because it delivered the result. That
There was
you
a
don't
very
agree with.
thorough investigation. What I read is that when the other SEAL team members were put on the stand, it turned out that none of them had actually seen what they said. They had heard something. It was something like that.
And
I did not follow it that closely.
it
so I
was
don't
really
know.
interesting.
And what
So
he
it
was
like,
accused of? What? Killing innocent people?
Yeah,
There's an
war
ISIS
crimes.
fighter that was brought back into a compound, and again, I'm speaking
He
at
was a
this point
15-year-old,
like,
a 16-year-old kid.
who gives a shit?
Yeah,
If you pick up a rifle and you point it at me, I'm going to fucking blow your brains out. I don't care how old you are.
yeah.
The fighter was alive when they made it into the compound, and my understanding is that the genesis of the trial and the charges came from what happened or did not happen once that person was brought into the compound itself.
And was he was killed in the
The kid was dying.
He
though.
died.
The kid.
More than, again, not there, not a medical professional. From my understanding, the wounds would have, in fact, probably taken his life.
And so
So the idea was, I think that the accusation was that Eddie killed him with a knife.
Correct.
Ended his life. And then there was another accusation that he shot a girl, a schoolgirl, and he shot an old man with his sniper rifle. I talked to one guy who was in his unit, and they were like, he was like, I didn't, he was kind of like,
They never
no, he's
saw
not
it.
going to tell me anything. But I mean, what I got from it was that when you actually look at what happened when they put all the evidence up there, it was all hearsay. And more importantly, he was not very popular with a lot of his guys.
I was just going to say, did they not like him? It's weird for SEALs to turn on each other, right? Like, who snitches as a SEAL?
I would say it depends.
Second rule.
And I would say, well, I would
First
say
rule,
there's
talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's what makes it to level to the like public scrutiny, and then there are things that happen in the community that people will never hear about. I'm not going to say it's a common thing, but it's not unheard of as well. Again, like when we were talking about AI, if we're talking about human beings, it's an imperfect system to begin with. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if it's combat operations or the Catholic Church, right?
People are flawed.
People are flawed, and fucked up people do fucked up things. There are issues inside of the SEAL teams. The vast majority of the time, they are handled internally and don't make it to the level of something like the Gallagher case.
Yep.
Sometimes that they do, and I don't think either extreme are a fair representative of the community in and of itself.
I thought it was really cool that you gave voice to the guy who wrote that book about SEAL Team 6. What's the name of that book?
I think his name is Matthew
The
Cole.
Tragedy of SEAL Team.
I think it was the crimes. I think it was the crimes of SEAL Team 6. His name is Matthew Cole.
It's
what's the book about?
Well, he did an in-depth sort of look.
Code of our country.
Tragedy and corruption of SEAL Team 6. That's revealing a troubling pattern of war crimes and the deep moral rot. Can you bring it up?
And you had him on your show,
Yeah, we talked for like 3 hours.
And how'd it go?
Non-confrontational law.
Did he change your mind on anything?
No. And again, it wasn't necessarily, I didn't have him on.
To sell books?
No, it's not a matter of selling books. I'm always open to having my mind changed. There are a couple of things in the book, and I brought some specific examples up of the language that he used specifically in one chapter and how it can frame an entire community through the lens of even just one word. I'm not against people. I actually believe that transparency is a critical aspect of maintaining your integrity. Now, there needs to be some level of transparency. Like, I don't think that we need to be exposing what we call TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. Like, what do we actually train for, and what are the tactics that we use? Like, let's keep that to the side. Having oversight for when things go wrong is not a bad thing, in my opinion. And I think that level of transparency is what would help restore faith and confidence in a variety of organizations in our culture and society. So I'm not against somebody writing a book like that. I'm against somebody who, and I'm not saying that Matthew was doing this, I'm against somebody who spends all their time looking in the shadows, kind of knowing what it is that they want to see, and then only picking those things to talk about.
Confirmation bias.
It could be confirmation bias, or maybe they have a fucking axe to grind.
Yeah.
You know, if you spend your time looking into the shadows, you're going to find things that live in the shadows. Is that indicative or reflective of the entire greater picture? I don't think that generally it is. And so I just kind of wanted to balance the conversation.
That's society in a nutshell, though, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
right now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With anything.
But I knew that your podcast was going to be a success. Thank you. I called you about it when you did the Eddie Gallagher thing. Because I was like, fuck, man, you're good at this. I
just let him talk. The one thing that he hadn't had and I got a lot of heat from people saying, well, how could you have him on? And it's like, first off, it's his story to tell. And again, there's a volume of information of limited. That volume of information is limited, and I was limited to it as well as what I could find on traditional media sources. The snippets of what was being recorded and reported from I was going to say crime scene, but the testimony and the trial itself. It doesn't tell the whole picture. He was limited in his ability to speak in that. And my theory is, if somebody's full of shit, one of the best things that you can do is actually let them talk.
Yes, let them keep talking.
Because they will, let's say later on down the road, another situation, skipping off of it. Let's say something like that happens and somebody comes on a podcast, mine or anybody else's, and they spin a narrative in the public spectrum. That narrative, if you're full of shit, is going to get used against you again.
Correct.
100%.
So one of the best things that you can do, whether you believe somebody or not, is actually let them talk. It's going to work itself out in time. Regardless. And so I wasn't there. I don't know what the fuck happened. I never met Eddie when we were serving in the SEAL teams. I never deployed with Eddie. And people, what do you think about all this? I'm like, I have no idea. I have access to the same news organizations that you do. But how about we let them be tried in the system that we currently have, as flawed as it may be? And the result whatever it is, good or bad,
Live by it.
You have to
you're
accept it.
going to accept it. And so that's what I did. And
If we don't accept it, then I think that's a big problem in society. You have to respect what a court says. If you don't respect yay or nay, then I don't know what we're doing. Then that's a very shaky foundation.
But the public's losing faith in all aspects of government.
The justice
court
system
and
is
the
definitely
justice
flawed,
system.
but you still have to have. It's the best we have.
It's all we have. What
Yeah,
else you
and
gonna
when
do?
you're tried by a jury of your peers, or in a court of law, when you look at all the evidence, it gets pretty thorough. It gets pretty fucking thorough.
Yeah, when there's a prosecution, defense,
It's
they're going
pretty
to go
thorough,
through
man,
the.
because both sides want to win and they're
Yeah.
doing their job.
But also, when you say you're getting shit for it, you know what I'm saying? It's like, are you really getting shit, or is it just people that are upset that his truth is coming out and they don't agree with it because they had him painted in this light, and now that he tells his truth, they're like, I can't believe you're letting him do this.
people
Well,
don't
that's
like
the truth.
People don't like information that they don't agree with.
Yes.
That's right.
And I don't care.
Morgan and Morgan, you've been in a car accident? Well, I think there were something like 5 million car accidents in 2020 alone, like something like 6,000 an hour. And a lot of times you get injured and you have no recourse. Well, Morgan and Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They got over 100 offices nationwide, more than 800 lawyers. You can file a claim from your phone in less than 8 steps. It's like ordering Uber Eats or something. And they've got over $15 billion recovered for clients. And sometimes, you just want to be made whole. You worry about suing the person, but in fact, usually you're suing their insurance company. You're not suing the person. So if you do get injured, and if it takes you out of work, sometimes people can go broke over that. Morgan & Morgan is there. Learn more about how to enter their contest. You go to morganufc.com/fighter. Okay. Here's what you can win, by the way. They're giving away 2 tickets to UFC 285 in Las Vegas to see the John Jones Cyril Gane fight. I can't wait for that fight. I got Cyril Gane in that fight, all due respect. But I'm excited. You can win 2 tickets to UFC 285. Watch John Jones fight in person. So they're going to send a lucky winner and a guest to Las Vegas to watch UFC 285. Learn more about the contest. Go to morganufc.com/fighter. That's morganufc.com/fighter to win 2 tickets to UFC 285. No purchase necessary. Sweepstake ends on February 21st, 2023. Open to residents of 48 U.S. and D.C. ages 18 and older. Void where prohibited. For official rules, visit morganufc.com.
My thing too, it's like right now there's this resurgence. I won't even say resurgence, but there's like when you think of people in the podcast space or just in general, like special forces guys like yourself, Goggins, Jocko, Tim Kennedy. There's some other ones I'm missing there, but all you guys have these huge platforms now. Who
Their
the fucking
I have a
thought?
tiny
Who thought?
platform.
Their
Platforms are massive. But again,
Yours ain't small, Andy.
You're getting 1 million views on YouTube alone, dude. That's a lot.
yeah, but that was just repurposed OnlyFans content. I was just joking.
Oh, that's right.
That's how he funds it.
That's my
Andy's
loss
cock,
leader. I feed
Andy's
that.
cock.
Take it easy.
Sorry.
All right?
Yeah.
That's
Dick.
multiple
It's
layers
not-
deep
it's
under
Hey,
the
hey,
OnlyFans.
cockbag.
It's too small.
Hey, cockbag, tone it down.
Here's what I'll say though.
Call it cock bag.
Here's what I'll say, and I think this is important for people. The size of the platform has nothing to do with the validity of the information being put out on it.
That's
No,
for
unless
sure.
it's CNN or Fox. But yeah, I hear
That's
you.
for sure.
So, just because somebody is popular
Doesn't mean they're right.
doesn't mean they're right, for sure.
Unless you're
What are the
Joe Rogan.
podcasts you listen to?
I listen a lot to Joe. For me, it's not about the host; it's about the guest.
Yeah,
and
me
so,
too.
and I think that's true of every podcast.
That's with anything.
Yeah, I don't actually consume a lot of podcasts. Joe is probably my main go-to.
It's because you're busy living.
I am busy. Ferris, I've listened to. And again, I'll listen to Jocko's podcast from time to time. It's all just about the guest. I mean,
Who are your 3 dream guests?
Adolf Hitler.
He's dead. He's dead.
God, I know, but I would fucking kill him. That's why I would want to sit down
Bring
and
him
interview
in, let him talk, and then kill him.
Yeah. At the
Oh,
end of the-
why would you let him talk? I just wanted to get him in the same room.
You want views or not, bro?
We could stream it.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair. See, now you're thinking
Andy
like a
Stumpf
business.
killing Adolf Hitler. Yeah, would you do any time for that? I don't think you'd do time for that. I think you could kill Adolf Hitler with your bare hands, and
We're
nobody
so
would
fucking
prosecute.
deep into a hypothetical at this point because the man's
So
been dead
deep.
since the 40s.
Well, he might be living in Argentina.
Yeah, he could be
I'm
in
just saying,
South
guys,
America.
He could be.
Might be South
100
America.
50.
I would like to talk with a previous sitting president that served post 9/11. I'm fascinated to know my experience post 9/11. There's three types of war. There's strategic, operational, and tactical. Strategic is like the plans for our nation. Like, what are we going to do? Operational, Operation Enduring Freedom, Operation Iraqi Freedom, very theater specific. And at the end of that is the tactical level where there's fucking monkeys like me with a gun. And I had a little bit of insight into a few rungs up the ladder from myself, but operational and strategic, I don't know what happens in those meetings, but I'm fascinated.
So you'd like George W. Bush, who dealt with it? Like
I would like
hands-on?
to talk to him, and I'll be honest with you, I'd like to talk to Obama. Obama was fucking savage.
He was.
You need to look,
Drone,
that's
right?
what I'm saying.
Dronies.
And I would, but
He was so super savage. He killed more people. I mean,
with drones.
With drones. They call him Mr. Drone.
But I would want
call
to
that.
sit and talk with them. I'm fascinated because I understand what happens from a tactical perspective. If we have geographically or physically isolated this person, how are we going to go find, fix, finish this individual? I would love to know everything else along the way and what actually makes it to their desk. How much time do they actually think about the cost of committing American lives to these war zones?
Yeah, how do
The
they
decisions.
weigh that?
I'd be fascinated
me
to have
too.
that conversation.
well, there is a procedure. Like apparently a
you're
drone
gonna tell us?
strike. Yeah, a drone strike requires legal oversight. So there's a team of lawyers that has to review the case, from what I understand.
That's why it takes so long, right?
Yeah, and so they have to look at the legality of this. So
Risk,
we've
reward.
killed American citizens with drones. I mean, you know that Yemeni cleric, I
Yeah.
think it was in Yemen and stuff like that. So that there are a lot of it's iffy and shaky.
Wouldn't it be tough? That's why to be a president, you got to be kind of a savage because you know innocent people are going to die, but for the the better of Americans, then the risk, the reward.
Well,
I straight up I couldn't do it.
They started doing
They'd
it.
show
with-
me one picture and be like, he actually
they
was a
started getting
fan.
good at shooting a missile at somebody that didn't blow up. That would just go through your body, from what I understand.
What'd you say?
The guy started getting good at getting just a missile without
So it
an
doesn't blow
actual.
up
Yeah, it would
everybody?
just hit you.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. I'm here for that shit.
Yeah, it would just go through you and it wouldn't blow up. It'd be like,
I mean, that'll reduce collateral damage for sure. But
Yeah.
so none of like the actual killing of people is not fascinating to me at all. I don't give a fuck. I'm curious about like George W. Bush. How much
That's
does
the one.
how much does it weigh on you?
Yes.
Like
now.
the hindsight
Yeah.
of us going into Iraq and the justification that was used.
For no reason, right?
There were reasons.
what?
I don't think they were the reasons that were presented to the American public.
See, that's the shit we need to hear.
Well, but again, and maybe they spend no time thinking about the lives that were lost because at the end of the day, the people at the highest level throwing the levers are not the ones who actually have to figure out how to find, fix, and finish people on the battlefield.
They're just giving thumbs up, thumbs down. And then be
I'd
like,
say
can I have
almost,
another cup
but
of
almost
coffee?
nothing ever actually, I think, reaches their level. I mean, there's.
I was going to say, guys like you are the ones that pay the price, and here's why. You would tell me, but you and I have had some conversations, and the idea that you go in there, you do this, you have to do what you have to do, and then what happens when you don't see that it's making a difference, or what happens when you kind of go, "Ooh, I'd be that way too." That guy just has a different lens on right
Just
now.
playing for a
There's
different
all
team.
these things, yeah. That's got to weigh on, I don't know.
It makes a difference. You can feel a palpable difference overseas when you'll feel it through the local population that has more freedom to be whoever they want to be as opposed to being pressed underneath a thumb. What sucks is that the rotational rate and the tempo is that you're not really long enough. We're not there long enough as elements that are rotating in and out to kind of see it through, because you don't know what's happening for the year that you're gone.
You don't
The
see a
6 months.
conclusion, really.
You don't
You never
have
get
time
to the end boss.
Well, I don't know if there is an end boss,
Saddam Hussein?
No, he was not
No,
he was not an
stupid.
end boss.
Fucking dude,
But
what are you
like so,
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I'd love to sit down. I'd love to sit down with Biden and talk
and talk.
Well, and talk about the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I'd love to know the information that was presented to him. I'd love to know at what point they committed. Like, even though this plan is absolutely falling apart, we're just going to stick. Like, I have so many questions.
But you're assuming they're going to be open to talking about that. Like, Mark Maron, when
That's
he had,
true.
Mark Maron had Obama on, but before he came, like a week before, they had snipers on all the roofs. They shut down the street. And then he was sent a list of questions that to ask and not ask.
I would just start with the don't ask ones. Like, what's the worst that's going to
And
happen?
they're just going to shut it down.
I don't care.
And someone comes like,
That's what you do, though.
I mean, like, And then that's the thing. Like, obviously, this is pie in the sky. I'm not saying they would have the conversation with me that I would want to have. But as far as people that I would want to talk to,
if they're open,
that's what I would want to talk about.
Oh, I'm so in. But I was just going to say that's never been done. But then I thought, Mark Maron had Obama on.
But I think all of us, if we talk to Obama, if we talk to any of those guys, they would, like anything else, they'd go.
Politicians.
They'd look at you. Well, no. But if they had a candid conversation with you, right? They'd go like this. They'd go, huh? Is that what you think?
Because we don't know how it works.
Well, they'd go, and what makes you think I had the power to do that? Or what makes you think that I even knew about that?
See, I don't think they'd say that.
But that's the conversation. I would say, I would ask them more questions. Well, what power do you have then? How much power
The first thing presidents tell you in their memoirs, and anytime you hear a president talk, is how much power they didn't have.
That's the cop.
That's why
that's the cop out, Daddy. You're buying it.
True. No.
This is propaganda.
I'm not. The way our government works is the fact that a lot of times the president can't do a damn thing without Congress, and even when he can, he's dealing with so many different competing interests. The responsibility of president, I will say, is this: you're a president. You have 5 different teams that come into your plate, one from the State Department, one from the Department of Defense, one from wherever it was, one from intelligence. Everybody presents you with a different plan. These people don't agree. Everybody has a different plan, and the debate is rather vigorous sometimes. And then the president has to decide. No one takes the responsibility away from the wisdom of a president where he says, let's go with plan A and not plan C.
Also, with the debate that they're getting, those two different stories, they're from the most brilliant minds from each side. And you got to make a decision.
Yes. So that's why I think a president that isn't that wise is a liability, right? Like
or compromise mentally.
Yeah, prudence is a better thing.
I'm sorry. I love watching him read teleprompters. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good time, I think.
Vowels and consonants are very tough to put together.
Me and him.
Well, he's got a stutter. A lot of people don't know that about Biden.
That's the least.
Do you know that? He's got a stutter.
But you remember how close, and it got traction because even Trump tweeted out. Remember how close our boy Rogan got to being the moderator for the debates, and finally
I don't remember that. No, I didn't know.
And he was like, "I'm not doing it."
Yeah.
Trump was like, "I'd love to," and then people were like, "Let's do it." And then there's all this demand for Rogan to be the moderator during the debates.
Joe would have hated that because he actually would have gotten that same fucking list, and they're like, "Hey, cool story."
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like, and don't say any of this. And if you do, the candy cane's going to come out and scoop you off stage.
But imagine if, and even Joe's the best podcaster we've ever had. But imagine even him. He's like, I'll do it, but it has to be in my studio under my rules.
Never.
But let's say they agreed to it. Even then, though how great Joe is, I would love to see it. But even then, you're dealing with 2 politicians who are going to finagle their way out of it.
Well,
they're not going to be able to answer. Like we want them to. Even though Joe, I'm sure would put their feet to the fire. Those guys, you know how good they are at avoiding that shit?
Oh, it's great. It's like, what's 7 + 7? Blue.
Yeah, that's
awesome. You're like,
that's right.
Okay.
That's
next
right.
question.
Yeah.
That's there are people effective debaters that can get
best.
you to agree that killing children of color would be good for society, and you're like, yeah, and you're like, what the fuck? How the fuck did I get?
How'd I get
it's
it?
that mental jujitsu that they can do. I've always said that. I was talking about that. Like, so you get in a room with a guy who knows jujitsu, you're gonna get wrapped up if you don't know jujitsu. If you play tennis against a guy who's really good, if you try to debate a dude who's a professional debater who like Ben Shapiro, I believe, was on the debate team. Like guys like that who actually were on the debate team.
Nerd alert.
But a lot of people
Damn good
actually
nerds.
practice. And when you're on a debate team, you have to take the side you disagree with and argue that side.
Yeah. But
and then argue the other
even your
side.
show Conspiracy Social Club. Those flat earthers.
Oh, my God.
All they do is debate about it. So they come on. Clearly, the Earth isn't flat, but
it's
they're
his full-time
so great.
job.
Oh, and you think you're gonna give them a question
and I
they
was
haven't
like,
heard?
exactly.
They're gonna light you up where you left the podcast. Somebody called me. He's like,
it.
"Hey man, I've been thinking this thing might be flat." I'm like, "Oh, dude." I hung up. I went, "Oh, I'm out."
Now this guy David Weiss, he's out of his mind, but it's his full-time job, and I don't know if he actually believes what he's saying, but it's become a thing for him.
It's not about what they're saying.
No.
I just watched a documentary on flat earthers.
Going flat.
Hilarious.
You know what? At the end of the day, and this is just my hypothesis, they finally found a group of people that they connect with.
Exactly.
I don't even think that most of them believe, but it gives them a tribe.
Yes.
Now, their tribe is of fucking idiots, right? But
a lot of tribes like that.
yeah, I'm not saying
least
that
you have a tribe.
I'm not saying that you're dumb if you believe the Earth is flat. What I'm saying is you're just posting the results to your IQ test, and they're not great. Okay, so you can take that however you want to.
I mean, it's not flat when you jump out of the planes and all that. When you went all the way,
Most of
and
the time,
jumped out of that
most of the
fucking
time
suit.
when I post a jumping picture, there will be at least one nice fisheye lens, bro. World's not bent like that. And I'm not going to engage with that at all because
Nice fish
Sweet
eye
fish,
lens.
nice
The
try
world
proving
is
it's
not
round.
bent like
GoPros
that.
do have fisheye lenses. Valid point.
Yeah.
This picture is not an argument about the Earth being round.
Yeah, you work
It's
in a
the
warehouse
sky-
or you spend a lot of time on a jiu-jitsu mat. You're not
Yeah.
a geophysicist.
Hey, God bless those people.
I love
Yeah.
them. I love
But
them.
but what I got at that was
greatest.
when I watched that documentary, what I got out of that was there are so many people who feel disconnected from everybody and anything,
Yeah.
and they find a group of people, regardless of how asinine we might think it is, as reasonable, logical, intelligent people, and they connect with it.
Yeah.
It's not even about
matter what it
it's
is.
not about the flat Earth shirt. It's about that they have a group of friends that's wearing them.
See, I think that's anything like these extreme groups was Antifa or Proud Boys. You sat them down, I bet, and you got them on their own. You're like, come on, man.
Yes.
They'd be like, yeah.
Yes.
But those are my boys. Great's my boy. I'm like, I know, but Great's an
I
idiot.
think that's what I always say. You can get people you totally disagree with, the most woke person, the most left wing, and the most right wing. You're probably going to agree with 85%. You're going to present scenarios, and you're going to go, no, I agree with that. What I'm saying is, and so
it's
the
that 15% where it gets dicey.
It gets dicey, and it's all the difference. I listened to Patrick Bet-David. He had a communist professor on who was saying that Stalin was actually a good guy, and it was
he was
just
a good
fucking
dictator.
fascinating.
You like
It was-
dictators.
I was just like, you can make an argument for anything.
Like Stalin had good personal characteristics,
he
or his
said
policies.
Stalin had
Charisma.
industrialized the country faster than any other time in history, and that more people, their standards of living raised higher in a shorter period of time than ever. But he wasn't willing to talk about the 40 million people that Stalin starved and killed. And he said that's not true. What the forced collectivization, except for every historian would disagree with him. He's an economist.
Well, that's like when people
It was
say,
so- I had to turn it
look at
off.
the things Hitler did. It's like, sure, like Volkswagen, Porsche, he built all that, right?
well, he didn't, but the
he-
German war machine.
But it was he planted the seed to get it going, put the funds to get it going with Volkswagen and Porsche, right? And Mercedes and all that, and then given Hugo Boss the opportunity to build the uniforms, right? So he burst all these careers. People give him all that credit. It's like none of that matters. What he did outweighs all that,
yes.
But there's you can hang on those things and try and prove to I don't know who that he was a good guy.
Yeah,
or a
broken
brilliant
clock
guy.
is right twice a day.
Yes.
And that's
Not if it's digital,
not if it's digital, buddy.
because it's just not on.
Yeah, then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Who do you have coming up on the pod? Anything planned, or you just wing it?
No, I actually have quite a few people coming up. Next one up is Chad Robichaud, who is actually one of Tim Kennedy's really good friends. They were over in Afghanistan. He wrote the book Saving Aziz. He put together, he has a Mighty Oaks Foundation for himself, and then Save Our Allies, where they were going over and pulling people out on civilian, UAE was supporting them with aircraft, but basically facilitating rescues and getting people onto the Kabul airport who needed to get the fuck out of that country.
And that's what Tim was doing too, right?
Tim was over there with him. He
Yeah.
was working with Chad. He was one of the core people coming over. So I got him coming on. Who else do I have? I got a Border Patrol agent who said he
That'd
wants
be
to talk
interesting.
about the realities of what's actually
Oh,
going
dude,
on at the
I've
border.
had some conversations.
Have you ever talked to somebody about the
Yes,
border?
I have.
It'll ruin your day.
It'll ruin
Yeah.
your day.
My day, I mean your entire year.
Yeah. It'll
ruin
It's
your fucking
so intense.
day.
Okay.
Like Tim was just telling me about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any more stories. I'm good.
But actually, Tim will be up for the coffee shop grand opening, so I'll probably grab him. Glover's coming on. Tulsi Gabbard. And then
Tulsi Gabbard's my fave.
She scares the shit out of me when she talks about the government. I don't. I'm
Because she gives you facts.
I'm concerned that we might be involved in a system that can't be fixed in its current representation.
Sure.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I mean that the people who are entrenched in the system are so dedicated and rewarded by being entrenched at the system that they'll never allow it to change to something
100%.
that actually serves the people. Like if you look at it right now,
She's right.
the government shouldn't actually know very much about its citizens, but we should know almost everything about our government, and that is
the
completely
opposite.
shifted on its
Correct.
head.
You ever talk to Dan Crenshaw?
I have.
Yeah. Dan's very articulate about that. And
Dan
if
is
you- if
also
you-
really good at picking stocks.
If you should probably get Lawrence Lessig on the podcast, who wrote Republic Lost. He's a Harvard constitutional professor who talks about how impossible it is not to be somewhat corrupt as a member of
Everyone gets
the House.
compromised.
But
Well,
so here's a better question:
yeah.
Do you go into the system to corrupt, or does the current system corrupt you?
Current
he
system
said-
corrupts
he
you.
said
That's
that-
where I land too.
He said
what
it's
I
an economy of influence, and you know you have a problem when good people have no other choice but to behave corruptly in order to even survive.
Well, because
So
you can't get far along. If you're not going to play ball, there's no way.
You will vote along the lines that your fundraiser, that the people that give your money,
You
your
have
campaign
to.
money, are your
You get compromised.
So that's what I'm saying. I feel like that we're involved in a system. One, I don't feel represented by either political party.
That's right.
No, unless
And two-
Tulsi Gabbard.
Well, I don't know how the fuck we're going to fix it. I think one of the first things that we would have to do is establish term limits, which is exactly the opposite of what these people seem to want. Because the longer that you're there, the more influence you have, so the more net worth that you can accrue over
Correct.
time.
There's a way.
So what would you do? Limit to how many years? Because they
I
can't
would
get it done.
I would say 2 terms, but it was never supposed to be again, people can think what they want to about Biden. I think it's a bad thing that he's been in politics longer than he's been out of it.
100%.
And especially if you think that the system, you could come into it as virtuous and just as possible, but it is going to corrupt you over time. That motherfucker spent over half of his life in that system.
39 years.
Oh no, it's more than that.
More than
I
that.
think.
He's actually been a senator since he was 29. Is that how he was one of the youngest senators?
Yeah, and
Or
what
was
is
it
he?
34?
And how old is he now?
Hold on, watch this. He was
How long has he been in
90
Biden was
politics?
first elected in 1972.
at the
It's
age of
2020.
30. Look at that. He was later reelected 6 times. So
And think how old he
he's
is
been.
now.
He's 80, almost 80. So he's been in
50 years?
Yeah. So he's been in politics for almost 50 years.
49 years.
That's unbelievable.
49 years. And to his point, if you can't play the game without being compromised, how compromised is
He's somebody. It's like he's a teabag who's been in the water almost as long as
right.
anybody else has been.
The,
It can't be good.
larger question for the future is this. Then Republicans will do their best to not allow this because they'll never win an election. But now
Who won't
you
win
can
an
vote,
election?
well, Republicans. I'll tell you why. So now you have to go. We're the only country, I believe, in at least the Western world that doesn't take a national holiday for elections. You vote on a Tuesday when everybody's at work.
Yes.
So most people can't
Yes.
vote. That's by design. That's the first thing. The
Why is it
second
by
thing
design?
is so you don't get people so you don't get the riffraff to vote, really, is what the secret is. And so that's the first thing. When you have to, if you have 2 jobs or you got kids, you can't
now
take
there's
the time to
mail-in
vote.
ballots.
Not only that, you need an ID and all that, which is all good. But this is all moot point because it's a matter of time, and we have the technology right now with biometrics where it can read your face, it can read your finger, where we will be able to vote, and we could do this right now on our phones.
That'd be great.
Everyone.
It's too easy,
It
though,
would be
right?
great, but the Republicans would never win the Republicans, as far as they're concerned, would never win an election again.
Oh, I disagree.
Because, but the problem is, if you truly make it a democracy, if you really make it a representative democracy, there are too many people that could be swayed by saying, I get a break, or I get a handout, or I get something, whatever it is.
Wouldn't they learn over time though, with repeated lessons of that
Yes.
not being true?
So,
Yes.
so the majority Mexican Americans are way more conservative than a lot of white people, and as the Latin vote becomes more and more of a factor, it's going to do 2 things. One, it's going to push, and already is pushing, the conservative vote forward. There's going to be more states
Look
that
at
become
DeSantis.
red.
Look at DeSantis.
And that's the first thing. But the other thing is it's going to render the black vote totally obsolete. So the irony of these left-wing people who are talking about opening the border and decriminalizing the border, but then they're like Black Lives Matter, is that if you have that many Latin illegal and legal immigrants coming over your border, okay, say whatever you want, that demographic is going to totally drown out the black demographic. So you're going to be a black person, and your vote, because you're 12% of the population, will mean fuck all for the most part in 5 or 10 years. And so that's the great irony that we're dealing with. But
How many of that 12% is
but
voting right now?
I think the good news about biometrics is you may be able to get innovative politicians who don't have a lot of money, but a great message and a great way to articulate it and a great plan. And young people or people who are politically homeless like us will go, hey, this guy's a pro-choice Republican, or this guy's a pro-choice Republican who also believes in some reasonable measure of gun control, whatever it might be. We all fall in the middle here. And then those are the people you'll be able to vote for. Like Andrew Yang would never stand a chance the way the system is set up.
No
Not a
chance.
chance. But he's got some innovative ideas, whether you agree with them or not. he has a better chance. Here's the biggest problem. The reason that you have candidates that don't make it in this the candidates that is because nobody votes in primaries. Primaries are only the most fanatical people vote in primaries. So you're not going to get a candidate.
You got to be balls deep.
Yeah, you're not going to get somebody. You're not going to get a candidate you can deal with that's actually good because the fanatics vote for the most visible.
I'll vote for Tulsi Gabbard right now.
Tulsi?
Yes, all day.
I like Tulsi.
So she said she left the Democratic Party. Is she?
That was her problem.
Well, has she said where she's going to land, or is she
She's
going
on
to go?
Fox News. I think they pushed her to the right.
She'll have to at some point kind of put her
Pick a
flag
party.
in the ground.
Yeah.
I'm assuming or independent, or is she going to hop over to the right?
You were telling me there was a group of people that approached you that weren't the NRA, but they were kind of more of a reasonable version of the NRA.
It wasn't even a reasonable version of the NRA. We were looking at, gun violence specifically, in schools. It just basically being more responsible with gun ownership. Like in my mind, you're not going to find a greater supporter of the Second Amendment. But I think if you're going to buy a gun, you should have a safe place to store it too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It stops with theft. It stops with, accidental use or, just a child picking up a gun and not knowing what it is and using it for its intended purpose accidentally. And then right shortly after starting to talk with that group, COVID hit. And
okay.
nobody really.
What is your
paying
take on
attention to
gun control? Because what I found
gun
is-
control?
Well, because most gun violence is actually suicide or gang-on-gang violence, from what I understand. Then, of course, there's spree shooting, which nobody wants.
But that's also the
But if you
exception,
actually, if you actually look at actual gun, like stranger-on-stranger gun violence, where it's just a civilian or people, it's the numbers are way lower. So the
mass
left likes to
shooting
say,
is up,
it's
B.
36,000 people a year die and stuff. How many people die a year on average from gun violence, and how many of those are suicide, and how many of those are gang-on-gang violence? It's pretty astounding.
There's a huge difference, and depending on the argument that the individual organization is trying to make, they either include the suicide data or they casually exclude it, because you can skew the statistic to make it look, so 54% of gun type, 54. So when people see, and it's important when you see a number like the overall gun violence in the U.S., if they're not breaking out the suicides from the murders or an individual using a weapon against somebody else, it's all combined in there, and it gives you a drastically overestimated and skewed viewpoint of the actual gun violence. People have really vilified assault rifles. And my first question to people is generally, can you define for me what an assault rifle is? And
Can I?
Go ahead. What does the AR stand for?
Give us civil
An
term.
AR-15.
Armor light.
Correct. Armor light
But
rifle.
I used to think it was-
Most people think it's assault rifle.
Assault rifle, I
Yeah,
know.
I
It's
thought
armor
that.
light. We all do.
Armor light rifle.
I had somebody explain that to me because one thing more text I get, more direct messages. If I bring up gun control, I'll get fucking people that educate
shaking
the
the trees.
shit out of me. But people that are educated, gun owners are educated for the most part. Non-gun owners are not for the most part. About guns is what I mean. About guns, typically. I've noticed.
So you're painting with a broom there
I am.
a little bit.
I'm
but
painting with a broom.
Very large broom.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a big broom.
Big general broom.
But I think I'm right because I think most people that are like pro-gun control, they don't know what that means because there are a lot of gun laws on the books to begin with, right? But what I'm saying is that, an assault rifle is a weapon that is made for personnel, that is designed to kill human beings. So
what weapon is, when you're talking about guns, is not designed to kill human
I
beings?
think an assault rifle, though, is a rifle that is not bolt action. It's got a magazine, right?
Collapse. There's 5 criteria. I forget off the top of my head. There's, I think, a collapsible buttstock, the ability to fire fully automatic. But so we need to go backwards a step. And I'm not claiming to be an expert on guns. I speak only for myself. But I think it's an intellectually dishonest position to take to say that guns are not designed to kill.
Yeah.
Guns only work for a few reasons. One, it's the threat of their use, which complies behavior from people, or their use in and of itself. But you're threatening to take the life of whatever it is that you are pointing that weapon at. And
Yes.
that, to me, there's nothing wrong with saying that. Let's just talk about what the tool is. And I'll also say that I'm very biased when it comes to guns because for me, it was like carrying a hammer in a carpenter's tool belt. I have a very different relationship with firearms. I'm not scared of firearms. I have nothing but the utmost respect for them.
But they were tools for you.
But they're not mythical. You don't. I'm aware that when you shoot somebody with a pistol, they don't go flying backwards with a fireball that the TV and movies portrays, right? Like there's what people think guns are capable of doing, and then there's what they can actually do. But they're designed to take life, and that's okay. And that just goes into, like, I believe that if you're going to own a gun, you need to have a place to store it safely. Like, let's just treat it like what it is. You know, gun control, there's no way that you are going to stop human beings from trying to kill each other if they get to that point. And I'm not saying that the introduction of guns, doesn't make that more catastrophic, because if they're fighting with their fists, there's no chance that there's going to be a round that's going to go through a wall and kill somebody sleeping in a bed. My question is, what laws would people want to add that is going to change the reality of the number of guns that we have in this country, the access that people have to those guns?
I have a law.
What would the law be?
The law would be that you apply the law evenly across all states. The problem is that you can have very strict gun laws in Illinois, and then in Indiana you can have a gun show where people can buy X number of guns and then bring them over the border. So your gun laws may be strict in your blue states, but if you have a red state 3 states down where you can buy 12 guns with a driver's license at a gun show, it's kind of a moot point because you can just drive it over the border. So I think if you were serious about gun control, you'd have to have federal laws that cut all the way across in access to guns. So there are two things you can do.
It's still not going to stop the problem, because right now there are more guns.
There are 400 million guns or something in
it's somewhere between
the toothpaste out of the two.
Oh yeah.
My thing is, what law are you going to pass that's going to change that?
Also, you need to look at the guns that are used in crime itself,
yes,
and how they are actually sourced. Yeah. The vast majority of them are not purchased either at a gun store or a gun show.
Yeah,
they're stolen.
They're stolen.
So where I live in northwestern Montana, stolen weaponry, and I get this from talking with law enforcement officers about this, it's a currency. People who are on the wrong side of addiction, if they can find a weapon, it has a large amount of currency to somebody that then they can trade upstream, and that's how they are actually sourcing the drugs that they are using. Mm-hmm. And then a gun that might have been purchased legally, but I don't know how many times I have seen this, sitting in a fucking cup holder in the front seat of somebody's lifted F-350 with your fucking Punisher and American flag sticker on the back, smash the window, take the pistol. It's like, that's fucking irresponsible gun ownership. And again, to me, there are things that we could do that I think would have an impact, but until people treat it like what it is, an item that is designed with the capability of taking life, like, oh, they're designed for protection. I'm like, yeah, it protects you because when you fucking point it at somebody, they stop doing what they're doing. Yeah. Or you can kill them.
But here's a question for you, Andy. Is there any law, because I think we've gone too far down in the United States, because, like, to your point, there's so many guns on the market, illegally, legally. There's more guns than there are people. I don't know if there's any law they can pass that would actually make a change.
I mean, murder is illegal in all 50 states, the last that I checked.
People still do it.
People still do it.
All the time. Right now.
You could make, I think you have to first establish when we think about gun crime, when we think about guns, what are we worried about? Spree shooters? Mass shooters, guys who are crazy. So people with mental illness.
So on that point, though, it's important to recognize people, and again, feel how you want to about AR platform rifles, call them assault rifles, whatever it may be, and people can look up I think there's 5 criteria. The vast majority of shootings do not occur with rifles.
Right.
They're with pistols, and it makes total sense because they're concealable.
Yes.
I believe up until Parkland, the most deadly school shooting, which was at a college, and it's escaping me right now, but it was
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. It was 2 pistols.
That was an Asian feller.
That's right.
Korean guy.
That was an Asian guy.
Korean.
Yeah. Look, that was an Asian guy.
2 pistols. But then you can point at things
Don't
like.
point at him.
No, it's an Asian guy.
You can point at things like the Vegas shooting, which of course was. Those were long guns, and it had nothing to do with that guy's ability. It had to do with the fact that he was in an elevated position, and he had things that had modified the weapon that allowed it to fire with a higher cycle rate.
And he had he had some help. Am I right, Andy? Right?
I don't know if he had. I don't know if he had any help.
Right?
But he was shooting fish in a barrel they had very limited ability to run and to move, and that was a horrific incident. But if you look at the total number of gun violence, what is used with rifles pales in comparison to what is used in pistols.
Yes, and that's what. So there are things that we think about. We think about stopping mass shootings like that. Okay, nobody wants to live in a society like that. We also don't want a criminal coming into our house or coming up to us in the street, taking our money and shooting us dead, like happens in Brazil. We don't want that.
I see it all the time.
Those are the two things that are the most scary to us, I think, right? The
Versions
third,
of that, yeah.
the third is we don't want your child picking up a gun, shooting a friend or themselves accidentally. Those are the other things. So those are the three things I think we mostly think about when it comes to gun violence. When we think about criminal on criminal violence, when we think about gangs in the inner city that are, drive-bys and shooting each other, we don't want that. But we don't want that a lot of times if we're honest with ourselves because of the stray bullets that happen. When a criminal kills another criminal, most of us go, gang violence, we go on with our
what you
day.
signed up for.
Yeah, the mafia kills each other. We're like, okay, whatever it might be. Suicide is another thing where it's like he shot himself or we go,
He chose to shoot himself.
well, we go, I think about mental illness, depression, and all those things before I think about damn guns.
Me too.
Because
he could have done it with a seatbelt.
yeah, so I think less about that. I'm sure guns make suicide easier, and
It's almost like they're designed for that intended purpose.
yes,
Not
was your-
suicide, but taking life.
That was
Yes.
your point.
That's why people choose it.
Yes.
yes,
That's
they know
why
it's
it
gonna
is
get
the,
the job done.
it's the number one selected item
it's quick
to end your life. Yeah, it's almost like it's designed to end life.
yes. But I think that
Hey,
if you were
can we
then,
pause for a second?
yeah,
I have to go.
you gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta do this other show at 2.
Oh, I got you.
But
I know.
can you guys finish it though? Don't
Yeah.
don't finish early. You're great at it. You can sit in my seat.
You're not
know. You
great.
have another
You're
thing to
leaving.
do.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're supposed.
I'm
to,
never coming back.
What? No, but I'm programmed. This guy's a woke fuck over here.
What the fuck, dude?
You're a bag of.
Come
cock.
on.
We have
Is it
15 minutes. It's
bag-
only
Is
1:45.
it cock bag?
Cockbag.
Cockbag.
Yeah, you're a cock of
You're a
bags.
cockbag.
It would be a
We'll go
a
till
bag
2.
of cocks, but I appreciate
No, I
you
like
going.
cock.
He's got to be somewhere in 2. I know where you got to go.
All right.
Go do
See
your
you,
The
man.
best, brother.
Yeah, man.
Good.
Thanks.
You want to do it?
All right. Take it easy, Mr.
We're
Bernardi.
solving the gun control problem.
I thought we solved it.
But do you have any? If I make you the gun czar, would you? What are you doing about that?
If you made me the gun czar, what would I do about it?
I'm going to give you total power. And I think you agree with me. So if you isolate the fact that most of the gun violence is suicide and gang on gang violence.
Well, is
for the most
suicide
part.
gun violence? And I've had this conversation
That's a
with
good
people.
question.
I mean, technically,
a good
it's somebody
question.
choosing violence against themselves, but I think it paints when you put it into the overall.
I think it's got to be separate.
I think it has to be separate because I personally, and again, it's just my opinion, and I am the dumbest person that I know, so take all of this with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
I believe personally that there is a difference between choosing to end your own life and trying to end somebody else's.
I agree.
And I think when you combine the statistics and don't talk about it, you are intentionally trying to create a picture that is off color for the desired end state that you are looking for. So probably one of the first things that I would do if I was put in that position is try to actually figure out to a very granular degree what the fuck is actually happening outside of like narrative and bias. Because if we don't have that, if we don't actually know what's going on informationally, any decision that you're making is incredibly flawed.
You'd have to talk to Jordan Peterson about that, etc. Like you'd have to get into the maps of meaning that are lost among a culture that has put abundance and convenience and automation ahead of almost
But
everything.
we can get to that. Let's just look first though at let's just look at it from a mathematical perspective. What is happening, how often it is happening. Let's define some terms, and then we can start looking at the things that could potentially be leading it to that. Like people want to talk about mass shootings, which depending on the entity that you're using to define that, it's somewhere between 2 to 4 people involved in the shooting. Okay, we could focus on that, or maybe we could look at how many people are fucking shot and killed in Chicago in a month.
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit.
Yes. It's unbelievable.
Yes.
It's fucking during the Black Lives Matter thing, I was like, have you guys, if you care, have you seen the violence in Chicago and how many black people are killed in Chicago in a weekend?
And that
A
is
holiday weekend?
one city that I think leads when it comes to that type of violence. But there's a top 10 list of those cities.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So then that begs the question: to what degree is this culture? Is this subculture? I should say. Is this culture versus a gun problem? It's like Americans come from a culture overall, by the way, where violence, solving your problems with violence, was always sort of something we mythologized. It was like John Wayne and Rambo and all those things. So that was already in the air. That was already a very sort of like ingrained in the American fabric of life. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it's certainly, you know, I mean, one of the things in the South they'll talk about is we get along until the end of the night, and then everybody fights because everybody's drunk. You know, there's a lot of that.
It's reasonable.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. You know, so you know, the problem is you start when you make guns the culprit. Guns are the tool.
Correct.
Guns are the fucking tool, and you know, if you really want to get into it and get into the weeds, you've got to probably start when you start peeling that onion. There might be too many layers to really, you know, it's a very difficult problem to solve.
It is, and from my, again, personal opinion,
Yeah.
I don't think layering additional laws on top of the thousands of gun laws that already exist is actually going to have a difference or make a difference. Will it make people feel like they're doing something? I guess, but you could also go to the Pacific Ocean and take a thimble at a time and drop it in the Atlantic Ocean and say that you're draining the ocean.
Unless you treated the United States as as one body, so that state rights when it comes to guns don't apply. Good luck doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
And you said, okay, everybody needs a 10-day period where we have to do all the background checks. Then, by the way, you get into crazy shit too. You want to start talking about red flag laws. If you're going to get into mental health issues, how do you define mental health? That's another thing. Is mental health depression? Were you depressed at one point? Did you have some form of PTSD? Mike Glover talks about this. Mike Glover talks about the fact that when you get your psych eval as you're leaving the military, to get 100% disability, sometimes they just, because it's a certain label, you had PTSD, we're going to give you that label because it gives you 100% disability, you get your whole pension, you get all these benefits or whatever it might be. When you do that, a red flag law could come along and go, you had PTSD? Oh, you can't get a gun. Now we're going to have to come and take your guns. So it's like everything else. You can start getting into the details of this. If you put yourself in a position where you had to make policy, you might be sitting there going, you'd be in a straitjacket. You'd be like, I fucking don't know. And if somebody said, well, I don't know is not an option.
When was the last time you heard a politician say, I don't know?
That's a great question.
Because I
haven't.
To be honest, and again, spoiler alert to anybody listening to this, I'm not a fucking scientist or a doctor.
What?
One of the things that I think got completely out of control when it came to COVID is people's unwillingness, especially people in positions of perceived authority or actual authority or leadership, being unwilling to say, I don't know.
That's right.
Being unwilling to say, we made this decision based off the best information that we had, and guess what? We fucked that one up. So we're going to change it a little bit. And instead, the flip-flop, absent anybody having any like level of accountability to that, people just turned it off. And actually what scares me the most about it is if the death rate of what COVID was originally positioned as, if something actually comes out that has that death rate, I think people would not pay attention to it based off of their previous experience, and then we might actually be proper fucked.
That's right. That's right.
I don't think it's a bad thing to say that you don't know. I don't think it's, I mean...
I think it's, I always say, the smarter the person, the more you hear. I don't know, sometimes maybe it depends. You talk to a guy like Lane Norton's a guy I love talking to. He's a nutritional science, has a PhD. You ask Lane, if you say, Lane, I'm getting a cold, should I take zinc and X, Y, and Z? And he'll go, you could. I go, and he goes, there's not a lot of evidence. I'm not going to, does red meat cause cancer? And he's like, what studies are you talking about? It's exactly like talking to you about the military. He'll be like, what studies are you citing? Do you know how they did those studies? Do you know how they do epidemiological studies? You know, they ask you to fill out a questionnaire, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of this it's very hard. I think the balancing act is this. When somebody asks you a question, the answer may be, I don't know, maybe sometimes it depends, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't take a hard line on principles. It doesn't mean the battle to understand the difference between right and wrong, good and evil, doesn't exist. You should be working to be very clear on those things in life.
I agree.
You and I were talking about that yesterday. Being transparent, being fucking honest across the board in your life. If you don't, it's going to bite you in the ass. If you don't, you're not going to get away with it. I promise.
I would agree. The only variable in that is the time that it takes for that to happen.
That's exactly right. But it's sitting on the couch with a fedora and a cigar going, when you're done with this charade, I'll be over here. But the piper must be paid. We know that, yeah? The piper must be paid. So, hope you guys wrote that shit down. Dude, look at us. We look related.
Look good.
Yeah, we look really good.
Slightly better on this side
I'm
than
a lot
yours,
older than
but
you, but I think your time in the field.
stop. Here we go.
Hold on, I like saying that. Dude, I went to Andy's wedding, and he sat me at the tactical table.
Intentionally, by the way.
I had such a boner
because
the
of
whole
your
time.
passion and just depth of tactical knowledge.
Oh, the greatest. We're gonna do tactical asshole coming up here.
We are. No, I literally, when we were doing the seating chart, I'm like, Hafer, Glover, Sanders, Callan. It's
Well,
basically the A team.
I liked your boy Steve Sanders.
He's a fucking savage.
I mean, he looked like a wolf man.
He looks like he's out of the, I was going to say Game of Thrones, but that's not it. What's the Hobbit movie? Lord of the Rings. He just was wearing Gucci sunglasses.
100%.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He was up there, and he was a SEAL Team 6 guy for 13 years or something.
Yeah.
And I think in your estimation, somebody said he's killed more people than COVID probably.
Yeah.
But he.
Yeah, you'll never find him.
You'll never find him.
Okay.
But he. I see this guy.
That is a
up
picture
there.
of him, the third one right there.
He's got long hair.
So that was in Time magazine. That's
Is that actually him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the Cars I detail, the early days.
Oh wow, yeah, he was just thick with long hair and this goatee, and he looked like he had just emerged from the center of the
Yeah,
earth.
Middle Earth.
Like Middle Earth.
Yeah.
He had been in a firefight in Middle Earth.
No, he was
and
down there like managing the children who were mining for cobalt. He was fully in charge of that.
100%, just with an axe and a morning star
Yeah.
on some fucking fire horse. He was very interesting. Smart guy.
Most of the people that I worked with would probably have shocked people with their level of intelligence.
That wouldn't have shocked me.
It's don't get me wrong, we got some definite rocks and people who would compete with like this table for IQ.
Yeah.
But also like Rhodes Scholars and people who have got incredible degrees and educational pedigrees and everything in between. But if I look back at the career, it was more about problem solving than anything.
Yeah.
And I think, I have no data to support this, but looking back at the selection process, although it is very physically painful, intelligent people figure workarounds out into how to, they encounter an obstacle mentally, largely through the physical stress that we throw at them, and they figure out a way around it. They figure out a way to either go over it or around it. And I don't think we're screening for intelligence, but I think it's largely a byproduct of all special operations screening processes.
They're probably better at asymmetrical thinking, right? Or
Asymmetrical or nonlinear, I mean, however you would want to
yeah.
describe it. It's anything other than binary. Is it A or B? Because nothing that I experienced in the real world, even outside of the military, is ever just like A or B.
But that's what I was saying that's what I appreciate about talking to guys like you. There's always kind of like there's a lot more nuance in the conversation, I think.
Depends on who you're talking
I
to.
do think though, if you're an operator, you have to have a high social IQ.
That's not true.
You don't
That's
think
not true
so?
at all.
But you're working together and you're in a team and teamwork is everything.
Every team has a bell curve of top performers and bottom performers. So even at the highest level on the highest functioning teams, you will have a bottom 10%. So maybe in comparison to their
That
peers,
bottom 10% has gone through a lot to get to that bottom 10% though.
Yeah.
You know, come on.
Maybe in comparison.
There are 300 Navy SEAL Team 6 guys at any given time or you know, around.
Probably close to that, yeah.
That's rare air. So you got to have something special to get to that. And it's not just physical.
Off the air, I'll tell you some of the greatest hits that didn't make the airwaves, and you might change your opinion, but we'll leave that to off the air. Human beings are incredibly, incredibly flawed, and I don't care. Even on the highest performing teams, that bell curve is still real. So they might seem pretty impressive in comparison to the overall
Yeah.
soup that is humanity.
Yes.
But there's still problems.
Well, I got it when I'm now older and somebody said, who are your heroes? And I went, ooh, I know a lot about people now. And I know some pretty successful people. And the mystery of quote unquote greatness or quote unquote real success is a rather has eroded somewhat.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I have heroes. There are people that do things I can't understand, like Cormac McCarthy when he wrote a book called fucking Blood Meridian. I don't know how he did that. I don't know how somebody can have a brain like that. That I suppose is awe-inspiring to me.
He might not understand it either.
Correct. That's right. That's exactly right. I was about to say that. Bob Dylan doesn't know how he wrote those songs when he was younger.
Yeah, it
So,
just makes sense to him.
yeah. Yeah, man. All right, I think we solved a lot of the world's problems today. What advice would you give any young person who wants to go into special operations?
Just find a different job. That's very simple.
What if they were like, I want to be like a James Bond type? What's the closest thing?
Well, then
to
they
being-
would have to go over to be like MI6 because that's not available for U.S.
got it.
military. James Bond was, I don't know if you know this, but he's British.
He was British.
Yeah.
But you could be in the American military and your cover could be someone who speaks this way. That's right.
nobody's
Yes,
gonna
I'm not
speak that
American.
way.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm from Britain.
I would say do your research. I know a lot more now about well, I think everybody knows a lot more now because like in 96, when I first joined the military, I was looking at the military like in the late 80s though. There wasn't that much information, nor were there portals to that information.
Yeah, you didn't have YouTube or Google.
And it's not even necessarily YouTube or Google. And I would not say don't read books and don't watch movies because those can be inspirational. You know, there's a reason why the Navy supported the second Top Gun movie. It's going to help with recruiting. So like, just understand that's not the reality of what your life is going to look like.
Yeah.
But what I mean, the SEAL teams was everything that I thought it was going to be, and so much more than I ever even thought was possible. But I didn't understand a lot of the long-term potential consequences, whether that be strain on relationships. I didn't even remember hearing the term brain injury until well into my career.
And now you have headaches every day.
I do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do. And it's not like debilitating, but it's just like a low-grade headache that I'll deal with for the rest of my life. But now knowing all of the things that I know now, I still would go back and pursue that path, but I think I would be a little bit smarter about it, as do I think most guys would. Like, maybe we don't need to shoot 15 Carl Gustavs at a time. Maybe we could do this breaching training outside so it dissipates the explosive blast instead of doing so much of this inside a structure where it's, bouncing off the walls. There are things that you could do. It goes back to the smarter, not harder mentality, and there's a place to be very hard, and that's in the selection process and the screening. And then beyond that, let's focus on the being smart.
You hear a lot of MMA fighters talking about this. They don't spar the way they used to.
Well, because the data is no longer in the jury's hands as to whether or not that's good or bad for
Exactly.
you. Like the verdict has come in.
Somebody said that the most important thing if you're going for SEAL treatment, you go through buds or whatever, get a pair of boots that you've broken in, so you don't get crazy debilitating blisters.
Well, they're going to issue you a new set of boots when you get there. If you can find out exactly the boot that they're issuing, you might be able to get away with that.
Oh, right.
But I would just say, again, do your research. Guess where most of the running occurs? On the sand and in boots. Run in the fucking sand and in boots, so it's not a new shock to your body.
Yeah.
It's going to be physically challenging. Physically challenge yourself. I wouldn't talk my kids out of going into the military if they wanted to. They have expressed no desire to so, and I'm kind of agnostic on that. I want them to find their own path. If they did, I wouldn't try to talk them out of it. I would just explain to them, this was my experience. These are the things that I didn't know, so now you have the ability to make that choice.
Yeah.
But for people
Learn
who
how to
want,
make a fire. Learn how to hunt a wild boar.
sure,
Learn how to dress it in the field.
like
Learn
on
how to eat
weekends,
it
yeah,
raw.
that would be good for like a weekend camping trip. It has no utilization of the military whatsoever.
Well,
but
learn how to dress up like a wild animal, so the animal next to you
perfect.
thinks you're a wild animal.
That'd be great for bow hunting
Rub
as well.
yourself in moss and urine. You do that, I hope.
For bow hunting, no, I don't do either of those
Okay.
things. Some people do,
Okay.
and did in the 80s
Okay.
when people were
Saying.
dumber.
I'm just saying.
But
You do wear branches on your body when you're a sniper.
no,
Okay,
I
you don't attach branches. Fuck. Man.
Why would I attach branches?
You want to attach branches to your body because you can blend in with the trees. And so now,
What about
they
when
don't
you
know.
move?
What's
you
that?
Think, don't you think they would see that?
Then
when you
move like a tree.
How do trees move?
Well, you fucking sway in the wind. So
What if
you
it's a
sway
no-wind day?
first. What's that?
What if it's a no-wind day,
Then you stay very fucking still and you move your feet in tiny increments.
which is still movement, which
Okay.
is what the human eye actually picks up on.
Uh-huh. You haven't taken my movement class.
I definitely don't plan on it.
Well, that's to your loss, buddy.
So,
So, good
no,
luck. Now
just-
you're a moving target.
Use the tools people have and get as much information as they can so you can make the most educated decision possible. That's the advice I give people.
You hear that, America? Andy Stumpf, always a pleasure. You're always a breath of fresh air. Andy's the guy I call.
It's just the kid now. The fighter left.
The kid. This is the kid and Stumpf. And Andy's the guy I call when I want my balloon burst, when I have all these romantic notions of what operators and intelligence do.
That is a 100% true story. You call me with some of the wildest shit that I have ever heard, and I start laughing, and then I have to pick it apart for you.
It's the greatest thing in the world. And we will continue that relationship, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
If you're in Kalispell, you might want to go to Black Rifle Coffee, which is his coffee company that he owns with his buddy Denver.
I recommend it.
We're going to do some
hot.
stand-up out there. Hey, guys, really quickly, I have a charity. I make no money off this. Zero money. I don't have an interest in this company or anything else. But there's an app called Fresh, FRSH. And if you've been incarcerated, a lot of times you cannot get a loan, you can't get housing, you can't get a car, you can't even get a bank. So you have to rely on check cashing businesses. You have to rely on fucking payday centers. They take 13% of your money. If somebody sends you
That
Western
sounds like
Union,
it's on the low end.
oh,
I've
dude,
heard higher.
13%. So the average person in those neighborhoods spends $4,000 just on fees. So this company Fresh was started by people who themselves had records, these entrepreneurs, and this one guy was like, I'm cut out of everything. So you can get a debit card and it'll cost you zero. You don't even need a government ID. You need a social security number. They will send it to you in the mail, and you can start using it at ATMs all across the country. You can start building your own credit, and it's an amazing company. It's called FRSH. This is my charity that I'm just doing for free because I believe in this. I think that it's outrageous. I know too many people who serve time who cannot live their life. They can't find a place to live. They live in their fucking car, and I think it's ridiculous. So Fresh.
My Fresh? Is that it?
Yes, it's My
FRSH.
Fresh probably. Let's see. Yeah, there you go.
My
Fresh.
FRSH.
Sorry guys, My Fresh. Listen, start getting a bank account, start building your own credit, and it's free. It's 100% free to you. And again, I don't make any money for this. I have zero interest in this company, and I'll always keep it that way because I don't want to confuse things. But it's a great charity, or it's not a charity. It's a great cause, in my opinion. It's a profitable company, but I just believe in it. Cleared Hot, your podcast. Is there anything anywhere you're going to be? Where can they find you?
What
Why would they
physically
wanna
find
find
me?
you?
Yeah, well, I don't want to.
Don't come up
Yeah,
to them.
what are we talking
You will
about?
get shot.
That's not
You
true.
will
You're
get
not going to get
shot.
shot at all. You can find me on the same place that you find any other podcast. Same as The Fighter and The Kid. You can go to, all the video platforms, audio platforms, social media. It's all the same shit.
I'm just so happy that your podcast is doing what it's doing because I remember you and I had a conversation like that. I was like,
if I had to list 100 things, like I think I've been at it for 5.5 years. 6 years ago, if you had had me list 100 things that I thought I either A, would have wanted to do, or B, would have found rewarding, it would have not been on those lists.
I know. That's what's
Completely
so cool
not
about
have been
it.
on those lists.
That's what I love about it. And you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right, Andy Stumpf, thank you, sir. Guys, if you like comedy, you come to Comic Strip. The Comic Strip, Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, February 23 to the 25th. The Comic Strip in Alberta, Canada. I'll be there. Edmonton, come get some. Then Zanies, Nashville, March 2 to 4. I'm at Zanies. I love that. Can't wait for Nashville. Then we got New York, Sony Hall, March 11th, one show only. Come get some, March 11th. And in West Nyack, New York, Levity Live, March 16 to the 18th.
And Brendan's dates real quick.
Brendan's dates.
Naples.
He's going to be in Naples the 16th through the 18th at Off the Hook Comedy Club. He'll be in Bakersfield, California, one night, one show, February 23rd. Brea, California, March 3rd. Get your tickets at the Brea Improv. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, I think it's the Summit Comedy Club, March 9, 10, and 11. Get some.
Cool. Is that it?
This is The Fire and the Kid. We're out.